I want to talk to you about my friend Charlie Crawford. He's a 10-time NFR qualifier.
Charlie Crawford, time to just shake it out and win. Got it on him fast, set
there
up.
We are.
Here's a dead
nice
money
run.
lead. You betcha 3-8.
That's an absolute perfect run. Timing was perfect from the time the first swing is up. He's got the control. Charlie made it happen by being timed up with his horse with the steer, and being able to not just rope, but to pick that steer's head up without changing the momentum for the heeler at all.
We know his beautiful wife, Jackie, all three of their beautiful children, the founder of the Liberty and Loyalty Foundation, which this year will exceed $1 million raised for military and first responders. I've said it 1,000 times. Charlie, it's time to rope, nod and ride, whip and spur. I want to welcome you to the Charlie Crawford Podcast. Let's ride.
Hello, everyone. We finally got it done. We finally got Jackie up here on a podcast. 23-time world champion. Everyone knows who she is. One of the best girl ropers ever. I think one of the best horsemen. I've been around a lot of different horsemen. I can't probably say that I probably learned more horsemanship than from Jackie. An ultimate competitor, great spokeswoman for the breakaway and everything that she's done. So, Jacqueline, thank you for coming on.
Thanks. It was a long trip.
Yeah, it was a lot of stairs, a lot of steps. How's it feel to be home?
Oh my gosh. So nice. So nice to be home. But as you know, also overwhelming because when you're gone that long and then you come back and you're already wanting to be in the swing of things and have things rolling and everything's so far away from being able to do that. You know, you got the horses are out of shape, you know, you're trying to get calves together, you're trying to get everything broke in, and then I'm trying to get, just like going to get Creed and Journey dressed, and they've grown out of half the stuff that they were wearing when we left, and then that's still in the closets. You know how it is.
It's like a mound. It's a overwhelming mound of stuff, and like, where do you start?
Yeah, but it's awesome. Obviously, it's awesome.
Yeah, being home. So you just come back from the Governor's Cup. How'd that go?
Well, I mean, obviously not the place that I wanted to end up, but also felt like I roped really good up there. I've been working on some stuff before I left, and felt like I executed some of that stuff, so that was good. Ended up winning 4th overall, so definitely could have been worse, but I was really gunning for that $30,000 win at the end of it, and coming out of there with a lot more, I think. But it was good.
How much did you come out of there with?
A little over $8,000.
And then what did that rodeo pay to win it?
So it paid it was 2 rounds, and they paid $11,000 apiece. And then to win the final 4 paid, if you made the top 8, you were guaranteed $3,600. If you made the top 4, it was $30,000, $22,500, $15,000, and $7,500. I believe that's how it was.
It's a heck of a rodeo.
It's a really good rodeo.
That one, I've heard they say that's about as close to the NFR as the way it feels, the way the box is set up, the energy at that place, and then the payout. The payout brings that.
Yeah. Well, especially for us. I mean, that is kind of like our NFR because, you know, you have a pretty good NFR. You know, you're winning 20-something grand. I think actually, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure they said last year our highest money earner at the NFR was 20-something thousand.
I thought 26, and I thought it was Cheyenne.
Yeah.
McCartney.
And in Sioux Falls, you can win way more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, what a rodeo. It was fun to watch, too. Man, it's as being a fan, watching the end of the year and how everything ended up. How did the breakaway end up?
So it was kind of crazy. The last spot was kind of getting fought for between, and I think even the last 2 spots were in striking range. And you had like your top girls that were qualified into Sioux Falls, but basically on the chopping block was Sarah Angelone, who didn't make Sioux Falls. So she's out rodeoing, trying to get as much as she can gathered up. As it turns out, Tiata Gray and Brady Good, who were just outside the top 15, they made the top 8. They had to, it was kind of crazy because they had to, once that had happened, if one of them made the top 4, Sarah was out. If neither one of them made the top 4, Sarah stayed in because they didn't win enough just being in the top 8, I think is how it was. And so, as it worked out, Tiata Gray made the top 4 and punched her ticket to first NFR. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's her first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool to be able to kind of go through it because the goal is to keep hearing your name called. Just keep making those rounds, keep punching your way through it. And that's a lot of stress. Watching the team roping, Andrew Ward, just that was it's cool to watch a set of team ropers rope that way by just organically roping that way. But it's fascinating to watch how much pressure they put on him and how great they roped having to win. Like he's trying to get his partner in, and he turned all 4 steers the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to do when you're under that, trying to get your partner there.
Yeah.
And then end up getting Vaughn on in. That was cool.
Yeah, really cool.
And then Kyle Dennison, he just went at him like he does. And then won enough in the first 2 rounds, punched his ticket.
Yeah, it's crazy because how it's set up, we're after the team roping, so I didn't get to watch any of the team roping live. And of course, you know how it is kind of all year when the rodeo's going on, you have no cell service, but some people could get it to pull up on their phone, but I didn't get to watch a whole lot of it. But I know when those guys were coming out of that tunnel, there was sure a lot of them pumped up, and they said that, Kyle Dennison was unbelievable in those first 2 rounds. And then, you know, just the outcome and how all that was shaken up was really cool. And the biggest thing I heard, that the steers and the entire roping was just awesome watching.
That's where Driggers does such a great job, because he knows how to do stuff, and you know, he puts on ropings and he knows cattle. He's a sharp kid, and yeah, he had 20. I think they said he went through 80 set of steers, and then had enough to where I think it was Wednesday they ran the steers through, and he had enough steers that for the first 12 for the first round, and then another separate set of steers for the second round, because that's what's so hard about the NFR there toward them later rounds, is those little arenas, man. They get sour fast going at them that hard, that fast, and yeah, it was great watching. What was the first round? There wasn't a leg, wasn't a miss, nothing.
It's crazy.
I think he was 12th because Junior roped him around the hips and missed his dallies. They were 5-3 and they were 12th.
Yeah.
After round 1. Like, that's how many. Everyone was clean. It was great.
That's
watching.
awesome.
And that's how you do it. You know, having someone knows how to do that and know how to get the cattle prepared right, so you can watch a roping contest.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But Tanner Braden did some healing there too, behind Kyle Dennison. He punched his first shot to the NFR. And then I talked to Paul Eves this morning, and man, last night was a tough one, because we're watching Paul Eves, it's 15th, and I think Coulter Todd was 16th in the healing. And I remember last night when we were like sitting around talking about it, talking to Cheyenne, it's like, who do you root for? Like, you can't really root for anyone because you want them both in.
Yeah, exactly.
And I talked to Paul. I'm like, how bittersweet was that? He's like, dude, first thing he said was bitter. I'm telling you, bitter. So bitter. Well, Paul wins San Bernardino last night, punches his ticket in, and he's like, this sucks. Like, we're buddied all year. We're friends. And he's like, I mean, yes, for my family and for me financially, yes, it's you know, sweet in that perspective. But he said bitters right off the bat. Just, you know, they're buds. And yeah, you got to pick one.
Yeah, it's hard.
And he said Begay almost wanted to turn his spot out. He's like, I almost don't even want to go if I'm not going to rope with Coulter.
Oh.
He talked about that. And, you know, because they're you know, great friends. And so, yeah, that was a tough one in the fact of like, man, for 1 year, I wish they'd take 16. You don't want to root against that guy. But yeah, so Paul ended up making it in through San Bernardino last night. I guess him and Rogers won it. And so it looks like the off team paired up will be Derek Begay and Jonathan Torres.
Oh, cool.
Because Nelly ended up 16th, so that'll be the pairing there. So be an exciting team roping. I'm excited to see that. Kyle Dennison go at him, because that's one thing he can do. He can throw fast.
Yeah, so, for sure. He'll be fun to watch in that building.
It'll be fun to watch. So how did your season go this year? You had a great start, great winter. You had to shuffle through some horses, kind of trying some things out. How did the season go? What were some of the things you felt like you learned, some of the things you've been working on? And another thing is everyone's always trying to know of like, how do you strategically plan your herd, like your horses, what goes where and all that stuff?
Well, I think that the beginning of this year, or before the summer, kind of made a big decision that maybe wasn't the smartest decision, but it's what I did. And I sold my horse that I'd been riding for the last 4 years, I guess. But I had gotten into so many bad habits with my roping. And because I'd been riding him for so long, I felt like every time it was almost harder to get out of those habits on him than it was just a totally different feel. And I had gotten, you know how I am. You're always griping. I'm always buying horses and hiding them from you and all this stuff because I just like to do that. And I like to have, I do. I hide horses from my husband places and then hope that he never sees them.
Confirmed.
Or doesn't notice them for a while. And so
that was a thing there too.
And so I'm always have some coming up. So I had stumbled across a couple of good horses, and I just felt like because I was roping on them so much and it was a totally different feel that I, in my mind, got where I was like, you know what? If I will just sell this horse that I've created these bad habits on, and I fight these bad habits on for this fresh, different feel, I knew I only really needed it through this year. And so did it. And there were definitely some places I was kicking myself in the butt for doing that. But I did have a lot of success. The little horse that I had bought, I rode at Houston, calling Backtrack. I won Houston on him. And so had some good runs there. I've had some good success on my Palomino mare, Hail Mary. And so I just felt really comfortable working on the new stuff on those different horses. And so I sold the good horse that Kevin, that I've won the American on twice and won a lot of money on, but started out and I left here feeling so good. I was number one in the world. I'd worked on some stuff on my roping. I left here feeling good. I placed at a ton of rodeos in a row left here, and I placed on both horses. I kind of used the different horses for different setups, and I never missed a calf until Salinas.
Which ones do you feel like went where, and what were those setups like?
So I kind of got where I like Hail Mary. She scores really good. I like her on the longer setups. She's fun to go run them down on. She's going to stay free. So I rode her at the longer setup type stuff was what I felt like her strength was. And then I rode the little horse Backtrack at some of the shorter starts. I felt more comfortable. I didn't trust him as well yet, scoring them long. And he's so fast-footed and quick with himself, and he tries so hard that he's a lot of fun to rope those little bit faster setups to the mid-2 range. And so I chose him at quite a few. And honestly, I did. I got in a really good groove with him, and I was loving that horse. I had placed on so many rodeos, and I'd drawn some calves that I shouldn't have placed on, and he let me place on them. He just lets me place my rope. He let me get my throw off, has a good finish. But then we got out there, like I said, we placed at a ton of rodeos in a row. I think all the way up through Salinas, I broke a barrier at one rodeo and I didn't place. Now, I didn't win big, but I won money. You know what I mean? And I was just plugging along. And then my second calf at Salinas, I missed him. And so that was our first kind of hiccup along the way. But as I can't remember the first place, but he started getting sore. He's got some stuff that, I got to keep maintained on him. And so he started getting sore. And enough that I was like, man, maybe I need to back off him. Well, at the same time, I was like, crap, I've already sold my good horse. And so now these are the two that I left here with. But
well, didn't Hail Mary get hurt at Salinas?
Yes. So at Salinas at that time, when I missed that calf, we were sickling down through there. We were at the back end anyways, and I should have pulled up anyhow, but she clips herself. I mean, it looks like she broke her leg. I mean, acts like she couldn't even put it down.
You had to get
jumped off her.
Yeah.
The vet had already seen it happen out there. He met me at the gate. He did x-rays and all this stuff. And literally a few days later, she was fine, but it still kind of made me a little nervous. And so she had done that. He got a little bit sore and I started panicking, and
Backtrack got sore.
Yeah. Backtrack got sore.
Where did he started getting sore at?
I can't remember the first. You know how my memory is. I have mom brain, so I can't remember the exact rodeo that he got sore at. But whenever you were coming up to see us, I called you and I was in a panic. And I said, hey, I need you to go by. When I thought about selling my good horse, I know Larry D had told me that her and Hope have, X amount of horses and they weren't all even going over the summer.
That was after the 4th of July then.
Yeah. So right after the 4th of July, I called you in a panic because Backtrack had gotten sore. They said, go by, get the roan, bring him. They have a roan horse named Trojan that I jumped on at what's the rodeo in Oregon that we all fly? Redmond.
Sisters. Yeah, Redmond.
Redmond.
Yeah.
I jumped on at Redmond and placed. I never rode him before. I jumped on him, placed there. He felt great, whatever. So you came by, picked him up, drove him all the way to Salt Lake for me with the second rig and left him out there. And so, but by that time, I had thought that Backtrack had maybe gotten okay. And I was like, I think he's going to be good enough that I can stay using him. I used him. And so I kept using him, kind of got him good. At that time, Cheyenne McCartney, her horses went down. Well, so I had him out there. And so we were like, well, yeah, she needs a horse, take him. So she took the roan, rode him for a little bit. Well, and it kind of just timing worked out that Backtrack got crippled again, but pretty good this time, to the point that I was like, man, I'm not going to ride a horse if he's off this bad. So she actually got hurt, went home because of her shoulder. I kept the roan, started riding the roan, and we were clicking pretty good and placed around a little bit and still rode Mary at the places that I thought she was good. And so that's just kind of how I finished it up. It was a little challenging trying to, you're trying to find a groove with a horse that, yes, he's an awesome horse and I really like him, but it's also hard to go rodeo at that caliber on a horse that like you really haven't got to practice on or make a whole lot of runs on. But
and how old is he also?
He's 6 years old.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but he did a good job for me. And thank goodness my friends didn't care that I took him and just kind of treated him like my own out there. So.
Yeah, because you finished the year on him. That's what you rode the Governor's Cup.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what I've rode everywhere pretty much since then. And then after that, after Mary did the deal at Salinas, the whole reason that I did end up having to finish up on him is we were somewhere and just, you know how it is. She was in a perfect pipe pen, trying to be nice to him. And we still couldn't find what she cut her foot on up at Hermiston. Cut her foot, crippled her, like into her hairline, into her hoof, and crippled her, and I couldn't ride her. So he was the only horse I had. Now I had the only horse that I'm rodeoing on as a horse that, you've barely got to practice on, and you're trying to figure it out at the rodeos with the big money up. And so, but he honestly did a good job for me, and I really liked him.
So how do you manage everything on the road? So, you have 2 kids,
Mm-hmm.
all these horses, bus, juggling back and forth between rigs. You buddy with LD and Hope.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you juggle all this stuff?
Well, I don't pick to buddy with them off of personality. I pick to buddy with them
lack of options.
I have to find somebody with another bus, and so there's very few of those. And no, I'm kidding. No, they're my friends, and honestly, it makes it a lot easier because with the kids being out there, we can't just jump in any pickup and go. And so they have a bus, we have a bus, and it makes it really nice to be able to send those kind of wherever we need them, and then we all have room and a place to stay wherever we're at. And so that's been really convenient and fun out there. And so having that available, and then obviously surrounding yourself with friends. And I have some of the best help.
Yeah.
The best help in the world. And I hate to say help because she's friend of family,
she's
and
family, yeah,
like the best person in the world to be in your corner. And so Cheyenne Britton has helped me. Like I literally couldn't do it without her. I mean, she is such a good person, and she goes out there and she rodeos too, but she drives, she takes care of horses while I'm taking care of the kids. She, whatever needs to be done. Shy is just a doer, and she gets it done. And yeah, it's amazing. And then
what all are some of her tasks that's up to her for things to get going? For things to keep going, excuse me.
Like when we're out there, we all share a little bit of different roles, but like her big thing is like, you almost can't go take care of the horses because it ticks her off, right? Because you're not going to do it right. She wants the horses taken care of in a certain way. And so that's just kind of her baby. That's what she likes to do. She likes to kind of get the rig ready, and she likes to tend to the horses, and she likes to magna wave the horses, and she loves taking care of that part of everything. She actually likes to warm my horse up. Like she would rather do that than say, get the kids dressed or, like whatever else needs done. She enjoys that part. And so that's kind of what her main thing is to make sure the horses are tended to, the rig's ready, and she'll have the horses ready and stuff at the rodeo.
What about entering?
Yeah, she entered all of us. That's kind of her jam too. She likes to, I call her a little control freak because she likes everything done a certain way. And so I think that some people probably think that like we make her do this stuff, but there's some stuff. I'm telling you, if you go out there and you try to feed, she is so worked up Like if you go feed, it's like, no, that she wants to do that because that's what she likes to do. So entering, she likes to enter. She loves to look at the logistics of it. She loves to,
She's good at it.
like plan out that, and she's good at it. And so I think when you're, that just makes it that much more enjoyable when you are good at something.
When she would call me all the time and, she would ask me, she would come up with her plan. I would come up with my plan. And a lot of times it would match up. I'm like, man, she's gotten a good eye for this. And she knew how to set her alarm where she called, made sure she checked all the grace periods, all that stuff. Yeah, she's got a good mind to it because that sometimes roping out there on the road, a lot of people don't realize sometimes roping is actually the easiest part. Getting the rigs ready, getting everything, finding the logistics, planning the trading.
Making sure you send a rope bag here and a saddle here and a bridle here and enough hay here and where can you get it? Like all that stuff is insane. And
well, that's not even counting when the rigs break.
Yeah,
which you also went through.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
When did that happen?
So
because I was called
that
freaking out on that one because I was freaking mad.
Yeah, that was quite an evening. That was our first all night drive. To where were we going?
I think you were going to Cody, Wyoming.
We were headed to Cody from, I don't even know where, I can't remember. But we were headed to Cody and middle of nowhere, Wyoming, all of a sudden truck just shuts down, completely shuts down.
It was on a 2-lane road, if I remember right.
A 2-lane road out in the middle of nowhere. And it was kind of like one of those curvy 2-lane roads. And we had just passed a small little rest area looking thing, like just a spot to get off the road. But it came around like a blind curve is where this rest area was, and it just shuts down on us, and we can't get it off the road, and there's really not a shoulder off the road. Well, we immediately just start panicking, and we called the cops. We're like, called 911. We're like, hey, you guys got to get somebody out here. If somebody comes around this curve, we're going to get hit, and first thing, jump the kids out, get them across the road to that rest area, run them over there. Well, immediately, because there were so many people going in the same direction, of course, all of our friends start pulling over, and we had like 5 or 6 rigs pulled over at one time, but at the same time, a lot of people are full. So we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we get our horses, just the logistics of how do we get our horses out of this rig? And we have 4 of them in there, maybe 5 of them at that time, 4 or 5 of them at that time. We're like, we can throw a horse into here, a horse into here, a horse into here, whatever. But then we're like, okay, yeah, we can get there and rope on them. How do we get them gathered back up? Because this rig now has to turn around and in 4 days, because luckily we were flying out to the other rig, to St. Paul the next day. We finally decide, you know what? Leave the horses here. I called poor Sammy Joe in the middle of the night, woke him up. I'm like, hey, I don't know, how far you are from here, but,
That's Sammy Joe Smith.
Yep. Sammy Joe Smith and Thomas Smith, that her husband, bless his heart, got up in the middle of the night, brought a truck. We had to wait for a wrecker to unhook the bus. He hooked onto our trailer, took all of our horses and Shy back to his house, to their place, put them up for 3 or 4 days and I paid a wrecker to come get the bus and haul it back to Rock Springs, Wyoming in the middle of the night. Now, granted, we had to leave. Thank goodness he just got in the truck and came. So we left the cops sitting out there, Shy, horses, a dog, not my dog, Hope's dog. And we had to leave it because we had to go. Yeah. And so we get the kids in rigs, we get the babysitter in a rig, we get everything loaded up. We're like, we'll figure out horses tomorrow. We get to Cody, we pull into Cody at 5:30 that morning. It starts at 8 and we're first event. And we mounted out there and bummed another ride with all of us, three of us and 2 kids to Cheyenne McCartney and Riley George gave us a ride to Cheyenne McCartney and Montana Brown gave us a ride to Billings. And when we got to Billings, we got on a plane and we got to the other rig with the bus. I paid $5,000. It cost me $5,000 to tow that bus back to Rock Springs, Wyoming.
How many
70 miles?
70 miles.
They towed that bus 70 miles back to Rock Springs, Wyoming. It cost $5,000. I about died. Yep. And then we had to get it fixed, and it was nothing. It was a little bitty hose, blew, and it let all the coolant out. When the coolant gets low, it shuts the truck down. And so she got it fixed, and then we met up with her when we flew back in. She picked us up somewhere when we flew back in. It was just, oh my gosh, the logistics of just trying. And then when you're jumping out on the side of the highway in the middle of the night, and you've got people that are trying to make an all-night drive and trying to think, do I have all of my stuff? Not only do I have all of my stuff, do I have all the things that my kids need to survive? And so it was just, Just one of those things, It happens every year. It's something every year.
I was practicing at Trevor's that morning, and I was over there roping, and Brian McNamee walked in, and he's on Snapchat. I'm not on Snapchat. It's usually nothing for us to go that long without talking during that time of a year, because I think everyone just heard how those days look, right?
Yeah.
Just that small part right there.
Well, and what's crazy is that by the time we go to bed, you're already in bed because it's a 2-hour time change. And so we talked that night. And then the next morning, you always try to you're like, I know they're whatever. He's up early in the morning. He waits till hear from us. And so,
Brian McNamee's like, hey, what happened to the girls last night? I'm like, what are you talking about? They broke down. And I'm instantly like, well, first of all, I'm panicked. Well, then it turns into anger. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, what do you mean they're freaking on the side of the road? Because that's for me, that's the biggest nightmare. Because the things I can't control when you're out there on the kids, that's the stuff that keeps you up at night, the nightmares you have of a wreck happening or something like that. And then what's going, are they surely if someone Snapchatted it, right? Surely they're still fine. And then I call, I'm like, what the hell? It's like, we're good, but I got to go. I'm about up.
I got to go. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
But I am stressed out right now.
It was just a constant.
There was a lot of stuff on top of that, too. I mean, the first babysitter made it 7 days. And
well, you can see after that why they
got out that
bailed.
Morning, actually. Yeah, got out, was going to stay through and watch the kids through that slack that morning so I could rope.
Nope, can't handle
Brad
this.
showed up at 5:30 that morning. And so I am panicked trying to figure out how am I going to have these kids in someone else's trailer. I rope. I'm 13th roper out at 8 a.m. There's no way that they're going to get up and get it was just, I was stressed out. Yeah. And it's like, I'm going to have to call you back and get back on this because you can't talk to me right now.
Yeah. So everyone that wants to know what it's like rodeoing as a mom, as a wife and all that, that was pretty much a good little picture right there that was kind of painted, because that is the things that can happen.
Well, what was the one last year that you were like, yeah, that would have ended my rodeo career? Not last year, maybe the year before.
Oh, yeah, that was
you'd have ended the rodeo
years
career.
ago. Yeah, I'd have retired.
Yeah.
I'd have wrote my middle finger on a piece of paper and sent it back right there. And at the next rodeo said I'm out. I'd have sold my truck, my trailer, my horse at that rodeo.
Yeah, because we had taken off. We were
Redmond, Oregon.
We were headed to Redmond, or there was they ran a tire off the trailer behind the bus. A whole tire ran off. They were going to ship us overnight in a plane a new axle, because you can't just get those anywhere. So they ship this axle. It arrives close to Redmond. What is it? Portland? Is it Portland?
Might have been Bend, I think, which ain't far.
It arrived there. FedEx refused to unload the plane until Monday. So they got there by Friday, but they wouldn't unload it. It sat in the plane. They wouldn't unload it. So therefore, we go, and thank goodness, I will say this about Randy Blomer. He's like, go to this trailer dealership, pick the trailer you need, whatever. Well, we go it's not like it's a big dealership. They have a 4-horse. We have 5 horses. Okay. They have a 4-horse, and we're like, ooh, okay, these slats can be taken out, but we're not talking big tires.
So
we're talking little bitty tires.
Kind of get caught up with this. This happened, I think, on a Thursday. You get it overnighted on a Friday. It doesn't get there. And if I remembered right, you were up Saturday morning in Oakdale, California, which is 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So this is when things didn't get unloaded on this Friday. So now you're in a bind.
Yep.
In a real quick bind, because it's getting close to it's at the end of the day on Friday.
Yep. So we buy a trailer that is not a heavy duty trailer. I'm talking a 4-horse bumper pull. We pull the slats out of it. We stack. I mean, it's got little bitty lawnmower tires on it. It is a wreck. All the while, we got this trailer and we're like, all right, they're going to fit. This back hole's fine. They're going to fit. We just have to make it over here. So sure enough, we load them up 5 deep. And I mean, these tires are flat. We truck it on into where we're headed, Oakdale or whatever.
California.
We get over there.
So I think slack starts at 8 a.m. And if I remembered right, you guys got there.
It took us a minute because we couldn't go very fast.
Seemed like it was a little after 4 a.m., maybe 5 a.m. you guys got there. But that wasn't...
Yeah,
but that we've been through that. We've
that's fine.
Been through that.
That's fine. And then thank goodness for good friends. You got to have good friends. And they brought our trailer when it got fixed to us. But on the way, while we're in this trailer with 5 horses packed in a 4-horse trailer, Journey gets sick. She throws up everywhere. She throws up all over my bedspread in this bus. And I mean, you got to think, we're piled in here. I mean, we are piled deep in this bus. And she has puked everywhere. And I at a truck stop, I just take the entire bedspread, everything. I just take it out and I put it in the trash. And I'm like, I'm not even going to attempt to try to clean. This is so disgusting. But Larry D says she can never look at a blueberry again because Journey had ate these blueberries. And I mean, threw up everywhere. And so it was just a cluster. But that's just how it is. I mean, you just roll with the punches. And, rodeoing's hard enough. And then you add kids. But
well, if I remembered right, you got there almost at 5 o'clock, and then you roped. The slack started at 8. I thought you said you roped like 8:05. Mm-hmm. And I think you said you still had puke in your hair as you were walking back. So I think I talked to you right after you roped.
Yeah, I stunk. Oh.
And I was like, yep, no, I'd retired. Done.
It was awful.
Nope, everything for sale. Then me and Journey are going to get a flight from Oakdale, California, back to freaking Fort Worth, and we're going to drive back home, and I'm done. I didn't know.
Oh, man. Yeah. No, it's just, you can imagine all the stuff the same stuff you go through at home. I mean, you just do it on the road while you're trying to compete. Sounds like a good idea.
So how do you manage all that? Trying to be a wife, trying to be a mom, trying to do all the things to be successful. How do you manage that? Ken Bray, he talks about the three-legged stool. In order to keep balance, you have to have 3 legs of the stool on the ground. So to be able to do all those things get out of balance. So how do you manage all that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't. I don't. You just wobble the whole time because you only got 3. So I don't, honestly, like I said, there's no way that I understand that this is a singular event, and when they call your name and they give the accolades, it's your name behind it. But I'm telling you right now, it takes a village. And that is a true statement. It takes a village. And if it wasn't for, like I said, Shy, number 1, like no different than you. I mean, look at all the stuff you have to keep balanced when we're gone, and you have to keep juggling. I mean, you take good friends to rodeo with. The people on the road, I have so many friends on the road that treat our kids like they're their own. If I didn't have that would be, there's no way.
And Abby came out there this summer too and was a huge help for all of y'all.
Abby, Tyler, I mean, you name it, all the babysitters that have helped through the years, the girls that have helped this year. And that's what I said, like, if there's somebody, it makes me at ease, and it makes me be able to compete with a little bit more focus. I'm not saying that I'm ever 100% focused, because I ain't had 100% focus on roping in a hot minute, because it doesn't matter how focused you are. You still are thinking. I mean, if I hear a kid crying anywhere, whether it's our kids or not, you hear it. I don't care if I'm in the box. I don't care where it is. And so, but it dang sure helps a lot when you know that you are surrounded by people that love your kids, and they're on your team and everything. And so it really takes people. I could never do it by myself. That's impossible.
I think one of the things for a lot of young girls, looking and idolizing power couples and things like that is, I think what ends up being the biggest transition a lot of people don't realize, and this is one of the things that I had learned, is you kind of have to throw your traditional values of marriage kind of out the window, because it's not a 9 to 5. You don't come home. It's not dinner every night at 5. There's some serious juggling, and that 3 stool turns 1, and that the juggling that goes on with that is for my situation was the fact that I grew up in a very, well, I mean, let's throw away the dysfunction, but like at least it was clockwork. My stepmom woke up every morning at this time. My dad woke up at this time. They went to work at that time. They came home at this time. Dinner was at this time. I mean, everything was so like that. Well, out here in this industry, that just doesn't happen.
No. And I don't know if there's anywhere else. I think that's the biggest thing.
I think that is probably one of the things how do you organize, this? And you can't organize chaos in a lot of times.
No.
And that's one of the biggest things that I think that I had learned was, as we were juggling all this stuff around, is, when it comes to being successful, there's always sacrifices. And so one of the things that was probably the hardest for me was due to the fact that when I rodeoed and you were here at home taking care of everything, you were amazing. And it bit me in the ass, because it was literally, you never complained about nothing. You told me when I was being a sissy and I needed to toughen up, and you were behind me when I did good, and you were there when I needed encouragement. You were always there. Well, then when the shit turned around there and I had to do it, and I'm like, I want to bitch and moan, and I can't because literally
You did. Just kidding.
but I can't because like you were so amazing when you had my back, and it's like, and it was a good thing that it went that way, because that was the things that got me through a lot of this. Because like I say, when you grow up with a certain amount of, maybe expectations or things like that, like when this role gets switched, it's you're playing different roles, and you're playing roles that, if I think a lot of times for a guy, it's probably not real natural. And also too is like you're learning how to fill in the things that are needing picked up. You're learning how to pick things up that you're not used to looking for. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's probably why I would say the power couple thing is probably it's a tough one. Mm-hmm. And the fact of we're for two people to want to be successful, that to be able to also have each other's back at the same time. Yeah. And that seems tough.
Yeah. There's no books on how to
not much on that
do what we do. And it's definitely, like you said, not conventional. And it's funny too, because you take two driven people, but very opposite minded. You're very structured. You're very, like, you like to plan things out. You like to have things, like you said, everything has a time, where I am the exact opposite. I am fly by the seat of my pants all day, every day. And yeah, it's definitely.
Well, the things that I had noticed in the last few years, though, was like, for me, it was good for me to learn how to fly by the seat of my pants a little bit more often. And not so much being disorganized, was mainly like how well you went with things in chaos. And like for me, it was good because those things are going to happen. So it was good for me. But then I think also too was, I think this winter when we were all able to sit at tables and like, all right, it gets dark earlier, so let's do this. Let's kind of, it felt like to me it was a good fit with strengths and weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'd kind of noticed about it. Because a lot of the stuff that you do, you're very comfortable in the storm. Mm-hmm. And that's stuff that's hard to teach if it ain't natural. And it's very natural for you for sure. And also something that
I don't know if that's a compliment.
No, it is. It is. It's what me and Shane talk about when Shane was here last year. Was he also talked about things that are easily avoidable. Those are the things. This one is like, well, that could have been avoided.
Yeah, probably so.
So how did all this start? Because I love your story. When we were dating and getting to know each other and stuff like that, like your story was fascinating. Like I didn't see a lot of that stuff. In the fact of, as I was getting to know you, never would have guessed a lot of the things you kind of went through and stuff, and never would have guessed it probably even took you as long to rope. Just things like I said, fascinating. You're from a way different place than I was from. So from Illinois, mm-hmm. Correct? So how did everything start? How did everything start in Illinois?
Well, I am from a rodeo family, traditionally, and my dad's side roped. My mom's side always rodeoed and roped, and my granddad had an indoor arena and put on rodeos and did all this stuff right outside of St. Louis. It was actually called Archview Stables. And so I came from rodeo family. It's different in Illinois, like the opportunity. It's so different how everything's structured than down here. There's just not as much opportunity, obviously, weather and just where you are. But as I was growing up, I always rode horses from the time I was little. My mom, I was on a horse from the time she could put a pillow over the saddle horn for me to ride on. And so, but I kind of grew up doing speed events. And so there's a lot of like county fairs and things like that in little arenas, and they do speed events from barrels, poles, flag race. Flag race is a big deal up there. They have women's flag race, men's flag race, and it's very competitive. So a lot of speed events. And even before I'd moved to Oklahoma, when I was like 11 or 12, I had started doing a little bit of team pinning. But it's kind of funny because obviously I've always, and I don't even know if you've ever heard this story, but at my dad's side of the family, there was my great uncle Wheeler. It was Wheeler Arena in Edinburgh, Illinois. And it was just kind of the famous spot up there. And they'd have team ropings and all this stuff. Of course, I was always too young. And me and my mom, we lived in Belleville. And so it wasn't right there. But they had a youth, like a junior rodeo event of some sort. And I was old enough that I ran barrels and did all the things. And so I don't know if I guess I was maybe with my dad that weekend or something when they were having this. And I was bound and determined that I wanted to rope. Like, it was just like, well, my family ropes, you know what I mean? Like, I want to rope. Well, I guess they put me on a horse that they thought was gentle and would be fine. And I mean, you're talking to somebody that's never done it before, right? And I just get on and calves are slow or whatever, but I come out and I don't even get close to the calf, I guess. And I guess it was like an old head horse. And I go to throw and this horse ducks off. And I'm pretty sure that when I fell off, it was into the wall on the left side as if he was heading. And so it was the most, like, obviously not even close. I should have never done it, whatever. So, but something about it had obviously caught my eye at a young age. And I don't even know how old I was there, maybe 8 or 9, something like that. But that was my one and only roping experience at that time. And so,
what about the video your mom had on that one horse? I hit a lot of walls when I was little.
I hit a lot of walls on the way up.
Chaos, I think, probably started happening. In your head. But like, what did that horse do? I remember I seen the video of it. How old were you then?
I was maybe 5, 6, maybe 6. There was this horse, and like I said, it was like speed events were a big deal up there. And it was funny. We were at an arena one day, and this guy was schooling this horse, and I've always had kind of a soft heart when it comes to animals, and he was just being like pretty hard on this horse, and I didn't like it. And I said, why can't I just try it? And I was like, let me ride him. And long story, and they're like, no, heck no. But then later it was like, well, maybe if he got to slow down, he wouldn't do this, whatever. And this horse ended up being, he was a great horse, and I won so much on him. But every so often, this sucker would duck the first barrel. And I don't know if anybody's ever been up in Illinois. Sometimes the arenas are kind of small. And so this one arena that we would run at a lot, the first and second barrel, they had gates that would open up into this bigger area. And that's where the first and second barrel, the first barrel would set up in like more into the wall in this big area so that they had more room across the arena. Because if not, your barrels would be like, 20 foot apart. And so they'd go into these walls. Well, I don't know how old I was, and he would, here we go. I think I was 5, and head into the first barrel, and this sucker just ducks, and he smokes me right into that wall. I fall off right into the wall. We have the video. It's a good one. I should repost that, actually. Let's see. And then after that, I'd get so nervous to running. It took me a while. Once I hit the wall, then when I would go in, of course, up there, you can go in and you can circle before you start. You don't just have to run in the gate. And so I would go in and I would circle and I would circle and I would circle and I would circle and I would circle.
I remember the video.
And they're yelling. Everyone would say, like they'd start off very encouraging. They're like, okay, baby, you can go now. You can go. He's good. You can go. Like, take off. Go. And I'd hit about my 30th circle and everybody's like, go. Like, just go. You're holding up the entire barrel race. But I was so scared to go. And then I'd finally go. And yeah, but honestly, it's crazy because you'd think, why would you put somebody? But he was a good horse. Just every once in a while, he would duck the first barrel. He had flashbacks, PTSD. But anyhow, I grew up doing that. My mom and I moved to Oklahoma when I was like 11 or 12. And,
well, didn't you say because you said like speed events up there. So what do you mean by speed events? And how come there were speed events up there at the time?
Barrels and poles and things like that. And so I don't know why there wasn't and still not as much roping. I don't know that anybody ropes around there. Like I said, that my great uncle's arena on the Hobbs side, that was kind of the place to be up there. And that's where they had the most roping events. And, but there just wasn't, and still, I don't think there still is as much opportunity as far as the roping goes.
Well, didn't you say there's a lot of speed events up there? Because back then used to be a lot of tracks around there, right?
Well, yeah. And I mean, there's, I think that's kind of a little bit everywhere, but we grew up on the track up there. My mom was an outrider. And so, yeah, I kind of cut my teeth at the racetrack. She was an outrider, kind of ran all that for like 8 or 9 years at Fairmount Park right outside of St. Louis. And so I grew up as a little racetrack rat junkie going in the ice trailers. And yeah, that's how I grew up.
Because your mom was one of the first female outriders, correct?
Yeah, my mom was one of the first female outriders, and then my aunt was one of the first female trainers. And so, yeah, they did a lot of stuff right there. And so, grew up watching that. And then as we moved to Oklahoma, we did the same thing. My mom started off; she had put herself through X-ray technician school, and so she became an X-ray tech while she was working at the track. she would work nights at the track because you would start racing at like, 7 at night or whatever. And she'd get off of work maybe midnight or something. And so, and then during the day she'd put herself through school. And so, when we got to Oklahoma, she found a job as an x-ray tech, but she also started off a little bit, ponying at the racetrack. And so we both had jobs there. But as we moved down there, that's where I saw like the junior rodeos. There were so many junior rodeos and they had all of the roping events. And there was a lot of kids that roped and it was like, oh wow, like I want to be able to do that. Well, at the time, all I had was this ratty little barrel horse that I'd gotten up in Illinois, and she was cool, but she was a little bit psycho. And I remember just making laps around arenas, laps and laps and laps, just trying to get where I could swing a rope, on her. I mean, she was crazy, just run full tilt. She was one of those typical small barrel horses, speed event horses. And I finally got her where you could do it, and she ended up being a great little horse. I mean, a great little horse. But
and that was your first rope horse?
Mm-hmm, that was my first rope horse.
So when did you start competing roping?
So when I got down there, kind of the same thing. It's like kind of a one and done. It's different. I think we weren't just like all in because we didn't have an arena, and you would just we would haul places to go ride and rope or ride and do stuff. And so when I said I wanted rope, I had to teach that horse. It's not like we were going to go buy a rope horse. We didn't have a lot of money by any means. And so just I started roping the dummy a little bit and got her where I could swing the rope on her. And I think we went and roped a few times here and there. And I entered one of the junior rodeos and actually caught, which was, very lucky, but I caught, and it was one of those mixed ropings, boys and girls, and ended up doing really good. Well, my mom, it was like one of the last rodeos of their little season or whatever. And my mom had told me that summer that, and I'm trying to get all the details right, but she had basically told me, like, look, if you really put in effort, like, we'll go and try to get more opportunity for this rope and you can enter next year. So. And
how old were you?
Probably 12, I bet, at that time. And she's like, if you will rope the dummy enough, then, and really work at this, I'll help you out or whatever. Well, summer comes and goes, and I rope the dummy, or I think I rope the dummy. And next rodeo season kind of comes around. I think I've done this work in my head, as a kid, whatever. And we get to it. My mom's like, no, like not even close to enough effort, not even close. And so she didn't let me enter. And so that was like, you get frustrated and get mad and you're like, but I kind of know in the back of your mind, like you probably had more in the tank than what you gave. And so rocked along. And I guess that really, so my freshman year, I wanted a high school rodeo. And at this time we would work at the track. My mom would work at the track. I'd work at the track. She let me, my freshman year, we would buy some horses off the track or like bargains that we would see and turn them into barrel horses and things and pole horses and whatnot. And, she let me rodeo, but she's like not roping. And so I had to put in more time on the roping side and stuff. And so my sophomore year of high school, I got to enter and go high school rodeo. And when I did, I was such a little dork. It was just like, I set my hat on the back of my head and just like, you watch videos now and you're like, oh my gosh, it's just crazy. But I ended up winning like maybe 6th in the state. And that was still on the little mare that I'd turned in from a barrel horse. And she was really, really good.
This was your sophomore year, you said?
Yep, my sophomore year. And so that mare ended up being good. And the more that I got into it, the more it's like, all right, let's start finding people that we can go rope and we can get good at this. And thank goodness, again, the only way you can ever accomplish anything, I don't even care if you have all the money in the world. I think you still need people at some point. And so thank goodness people gave me opportunity to come rope at their places and just helped me and really tried to give me an opportunity. And so junior year, rocked along, high school rodeo again. I ended up winning state in Oklahoma my junior year. And so that was like kind of the first taste of, the first taste of blood a little bit, of like, man, hey, like I can maybe do this, I could do a little bit of this. But at the same time, I was so into sports too. I loved playing basketball. But I actually tore my knee up playing basketball. And so I'd had to kind of set out of basketball a little bit, and it kind of set me back in that. But my senior year, I high school rodeoed again. I ended up winning second in the state. I played basketball again. I had to kind of set some of the sports aside in order to rodeo. Like I had to stop softball because rodeos and softball were over the top of each other. But when it came senior year, like I had a couple little offers to go play basketball, and I wasn't just 100% sure. Like junior year, I wasn't really sure what I wanted, if I wanted to try to like pursue going and playing sports, or if I wanted to pursue the rodeo thing, as far as college goes. But as I tore my knee up and realized that was a setback and really looked at it and like, are you really going to excel at basketball, at a high level? And no, not really. I mean, I had a couple little small offers, whatever, to go play, but nothing big. And then had an offer to go to, I had some full rides up close to home to go to college. And I ended up turning them down because I went down and looked at a school in Texas with one of my friends, and it was Vernon, Texas. And I just always thought that like the persona of when Texas showed up at, Shawnee or any of the border feuds or something, there's just something about living in Texas. Again, it just seemed like the opportunity was amazing, and the people there were, the kids that competed were so good. It's like they had a leg up on something. And so when I went to Texas,
you also talked about like through high school and stuff like that. You talked about working and having jobs. Mm-hmm. So like, what was high school like? Like in the fact of playing sports, roping, what were all the things that you did through high school?
Well, I worked. We worked a lot, but at the same time, I mean, my mom worked her tail off. When I tell you worked her tail off, I mean worked her tail off. She would go days without sleeping off of work shifts. I mean, she was an X-ray tech. She did multiple hospitals. She just worked her tail off in order for me to have as many opportunities and a good childhood as I could. And so, but through that, yeah, I mean, we didn't have anything. And so we would kind of live at different places, and we lived at some people's places and whatnot. And didn't have an arena. We were living at some people's house, south of Sallisaw, Oklahoma, and we leased a couple of lots down the road. And so in high school, even before I could drive or get my license, there was a guy that would come by my house, and he'd pick me up early, and I'd go to the racetrack and I'd clean stalls for him. And this was all in spurts. This wasn't all through all of high school, but I would go clean stalls there. And then once I got old enough to get my pony license and I turned 16, I got to go to the racetrack, and instead of cleaning stalls, I would use some of my horses or my prospects that my mom had gotten, and I would pony horses off of them. And so I'd pony horses in the morning, and then I got to pony a few horses during the races, but I was young, and those people are kind of set, and, they'd rather, those ladies don't give up their spot ponying during the races for showing up at, 4:30 or 5 in the morning. And so I'd pony horses up there, and then I'd run over to the school and I'd do my basketball workout with the team at like 8 in the morning or so. And, 8 or 9 in the morning, whatever time everybody was working out in the morning. And then I had a job too that throughout high school here and there I would help a guy lay, like wood flooring, laminate wood flooring and carpeting. It was a carpet and hardwood floor store. And so we would go lay carpet and do all this stuff in these houses. And then, I'd go try to find somewhere to rope. And so I'd go drive down the road. I'd get my horses, I'd pick my horses up. I'd go drive somewhere to rope. And, thank goodness my mom really taught me to, when you show up somewhere, don't you dare just show up and get on your horse and go to roping and then leave. Like if I showed up, I tied my horses up. I needed to help. I'd work shoots. I'd rake the boxes down and tried to make sure that something there was better than when I showed up, or I made that person's day that's given me an opportunity better or easier in some way. And so we do that, and then we'd turn around, and when school was in, then I'd turn around, I'd get back home, and then I'd get up, and then my mom was just that. She was, like I said, it was just everything. There was no excuses, and you worked your tail off, because if school was in, then I would go rope at night. I'd go drop horses off, and then if basketball practice started at 6:30 or 7, I was there at 6 or 6:30, and you shot free throws. It just, whatever you were gonna do, you did it extra, and you did it over the top. And so, I would pull up to put my horses away and fall asleep on the side of the road, park there all the time. Like it was pretty exhausted all through high school, but it was good because my mom worked so hard. And then, I was still a teenager, and, I still was probably a pisshead completely. I know I was. And so, but she did instill in me how to work and how to work for something. And so that was what most of high school was about.
What all jobs did you have? Because I remember you told me you were a little tracky, growing up on the racetracks. What other jobs did you have on the racetrack?
That was it.
I mean, you waitressed there for a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
well.
yeah. When I came back, that was after college, though. I came back 1 year from college, and I worked in the clubhouse as a waitress. I was a horrible waitress. I have ADD, awful. And so I was a terrible waitress, but I waitressed for a summer in the clubhouse at the racetrack as well. Yeah. Which, I guess it beat cleaning stalls, but...
Yeah, I didn't think better than herding turds.
So, yeah, I did do that. The first year I came home after college, after I went to Vernon, I had that job, and then after that, I always stayed
growing
home.
up roping, like your dad was a winner. Like I heard about Mark all the time. Every time I go anywhere close to Missouri or any of them spots around there, your dad, he was a winner roping. Mm-hmm. And what all this stuff, like I just remember everyone, like it seemed like everyone I talked to roped with him. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of a legend up there roping.
Yeah. I never grew up. My parents were divorced when I was young, and so I never really got to be around my dad when he roped or know that part. But yeah, they say that him and my uncle are the only two men from Illinois to ever win the high school finals. And then I know like he's won that his circuit a ton, and in the heeling and the calf roping, and he's got all sorts of stuff that he's won. He don't really talk about it, but I hear all the stories. I saw him rope calves a few times, like at the U.S. finals when they were in Stephenville and places like that. And so he was very successful in his career. And like I said, he doesn't rope anymore. He quit roping, but he was very good. And a lot of people, yeah, like you said, kind of folklore. You hear all the stories about. And then my mom was, she was a competitor too. She's in, her college rodeo Hall of Fame, Murray State. She's in the Hall of Fame for the college rodeo. And she won a ton of stuff and did a bunch of, she even rode broncs and bulls and everything, which not willingly. I think my grandpa made her, but she did it. And so she actually roped really good. And then they said my grandpa made her ride a bronc one time, and she showed up, and he was having like an all-girl rodeo at his arena. And she showed up, and he's like, "You put a glove on. You're going to ride. I ain't got this entry, whatever." He made her do it, and they taped her wrist. What broke her wrist when she rode? It broke her wrist, and they went to the hospital, and the people were like, "Well, we need to send her over here because we only have so-and-so that can set it, and he's not, experienced." And he's like, "Well, can he do it?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, he can." He's like, "Well, have him do it. He'll be, whatever." And they set it like a certain degree off, and so she never could rope as well because her wrist set off, and so she always just had a little trouble with that. But both parents very competitive and really well known from.
And when did you say they got divorced?
I think I was like 4 years old. Yeah, I was young. So
because a lot of it was kind of you and your mom for a long time.
Yeah,
and your granddad.
Yeah.
And you've always been pretty sharp with moving horses around and trading and being respectful and on the right side of things, but also pretty good at it. Where did a lot of those habits or traits do you think came from? And a great storyteller, by the way.
Yeah, I'd say my granddad. My granddad definitely, my granddad was just a survivor, and he just figured out how to survive and be successful. He caught a train from Arkansas, middle of Arkansas, had nothing, had no money, no nothing, caught a train to St. Louis. And he'd come out of the Army, and he heard that you could get into the cattle business. And so he caught a train up to St. Louis to go to the stockyards to try to get into something, and ended up getting into, just worked his way and talked his way and ended up getting into, instead of the beef industry, he found a slot into the sheep industry. And at one time, he was the largest sheep buyer in the nation. And he ran half the nation in sheep, and he traveled the whole thing. And he's got more stories.
Oh my gosh.
And he ended up, he had more things going. He's owned and traded, and yeah, this man he is definitely a legend of his time and a legend in his area because he has done and seen and has more stories and more things that crazy wild things.
What's one
that
of
he
your
did.
favorite stories? Because when we were up there, I don't know how it was, probably 8 years ago, and they were funny. Gosh dang. I mean, from fighting dogs to, I don't know, maybe it was chickens. I forget. There were so many things that were so funny, but like,
oh, he just would just do stuff.
It's probably
and
hard to say which one's your best one because like there's so many of them.
He had so many. I mean, he's surprised. Like he would just he had that indoor arena, and he'd put on like prison rodeos. He'd put on and like do stuff. These guys like it was just oh my gosh. I mean, he's done so many things. Like he's bought. I mean, he's owned monkeys. He would go down to Grant's farm when they would have just different animals. Grant's farm is like Budweiser, like Anheuser-Busch, like they'd have all these exotic whatever. Well, he would just go buy stuff. So he's owned lions, bears, and he'd bring it right in there to his indoor arena. And like I said, I mean, he chased my grandma when they were going through a divorce. He chased my grandma with a monkey, and like it would attack her, and just craziness. I mean, there's so many crazy stories that he had that he did, and it's just like. You know, you would never get away with the things that he did now, you know, they're funny and they were harmless, but at the same time, you know, he would surprise them. He'd have these rodeos and then all of a sudden he went and bought an entire herd of mini donkeys that Anheuser-Busch thought that they were going to make a matching team to their Budweiser horses for. Didn't work out. So they just sold them. My grandpa goes down there, buys them, puts them in the team roping at his rodeo that night. And so that's what they rope in the team roping of the rodeo, but he doesn't tell anybody. He just shows up and does it. And it's like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. I mean, he just was wild and there was no lack of my granddad. I think that's where I got like the spirit of like, I know it drives you nuts, but I love people and the celebration of people. And my granddad had parties that were just like everybody get together and have fun. At his house, he would bring in, we'd have play days at his house, but he would have like family, you'd have like relay races through the woods. You'd have all this. I mean, he would just have huge celebrations of just people, of just fun time and just people being together and coming together. And, you know, he just always kind of giving people a chance. And I don't know, he was a character, that's for sure.
He was a legend in the character. And I seen, when I seen you guys together for the first time, I'm like, oh yeah, that's where a lot of that came from.
Yeah.
He's no fear.
None.
And just not scared to fail, and just some of the plane trips that he took, and just some of the some of the things. It was wild. It was truly wild. It was like watching an older movie, thinking that stuff never happened, and then you're listening to him talk about something that you've seen in a movie, and you're like, that's kind of how it was back then.
Yep,
he hustled. You learn how to hustle and make it work.
He hustled. Like it was pretty cool. His arena that he built, or he had Archview Stables. It had a huge gathering. One of the biggest things he did, like I said, he loved like the gathering of people, or from the stories I hear. And I remember when I was young being around it and knowing like there was always a fun vibe, you know. And he took the St. Louis stockyards. We're going to tear up their stockyards. So he told them, I'll be down there. He took all his workers and they went and pulled the bricks up from the St. Louis stockyards, took them to his indoor arena. And in that indoor arena, they had it was the concession stand, but it was also like a gathering area, you know, and the entire back wall, and it had a fireplace and everything, and the entire back wall and the floor and everything, they bricked it with the bricks from the St. Louis stockyards. It was just stuff like that. I mean, just really cool. Just always had something going like that.
So getting caught back up to, kind of put us down a little bit of a left turn, but it was fascinating though, just getting to know him and those stories. But then you end up, went through high school, went through the rodeos, got a niche and in breakaway.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you end up going to college. You talked about going to Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your college career like?
So, college career, which I guess I would say that it was kind of, I'll back up one more step to high school because I liked all the roping. I did. I liked all the roping. And even then, because there wasn't any breakaway ropers that could go help me, I always went and got help from calf ropers. And so, of course, the tomboy in me would always join in if they were tying from the post and did all this stuff. And so I ended up tying calves a little bit even in high school. And I was one of the only girls to enter it was a little bit of a, I don't want to. My mom's like, well, don't be scared. Like, whatever. I was one of the only girls to enter the calf roping at Shawnee, which I didn't do any good. I was terrible. I did terrible. I didn't have a great horse. Whatever. I didn't do any good, but I did enter the calf roping at Shawnee. And I also entered the team roping. It's kind of funny because one of my partners that I entered with is I headed for Coleman Proctor. Yeah. And so that was one of my old team roping partners at some of the stuff in high school. And so we entered Shawnee together and whatnot. And so that was fun. But as I went to college.
So you grew up, you said, without an arena.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I remember, I think Chris Neal maybe was telling me that like when you'd go to your house, like it looked like a training facility. You know, there's a roping dummy out of straw hay that the strings had literally hit the ground because you'd roped it so much that basically the straw came out of it to where you almost just had it just kind of sitting there, and then a team roping dummy and no grass growing anywhere around there because you can tell like all the footsteps to the calf, you know, wherever you're roping. He said it looked like a training facility.
Yeah.
And so you grew up without an arena. So how in the heck did you learn how to rope calves, breakaway, and team rope without an arena?
Well, like I said, people. I used their things a lot. Thank goodness for good friends and people wanting to give me an opportunity but what is cool is that I did, because of the lack of an arena, I did have to learn to use my rope, and I would take my rope to the racetrack when I worked and rope a bucket or rope a fence post or rope, you know, an overhang, anything. I'd just rope, just trying to learn to use the rope. And so I did a lot more dummy work probably than most people did because that's all I had. Right. And so, yeah, I had me a little station. I'd stake a goat out because at that time I tied goats. I'd stake a goat out. I'd have my head and dummy and then my calf rope and dummy, and I'd just go to station. But, so learning to rope, and it helped that I had rode so much in my life. I mean, I rode good, and my mom was a good horseman and, horsewoman. And so I had the riding part. It was kind of the best mix of lack of opportunity, honestly, because I learned to ride so much and so well before I tried to rope. And then I had to learn to rope because I didn't have the opportunity to put them both together. And so, when I was able to do that, and then my mom, honestly, I mean, we would set a bale of hay on a piece of plywood, and my mom would get on one of her colts and she would pull that thing for me for hours. And that was my track dummy. And we would pull it down a road or anywhere we had. I'm serious. And so like that was hours and hours. And so she was trying to work on her horse and, you know, teach it. And I'd be trying to work on my roping, and that's what we would do. And then, like I said, a lot of people that gave us opportunity to go to their place and use their things and, you know, learn to practice and whatnot. And so, yeah, just went when I could, you know, found opportunity where you could.
And then end up getting to go to college roping, and that was Vernon.
Yeah, Vernon. And I realized real quick when I left, I had these colts, and I had, you know, and I had an arena at my disposal right by my dorm at the time, for the first time. So I had all these big ideas, but as I got down there, I realized like I couldn't really do as much as I thought I could do as far as team roping and all these things, because you had school and you were leaving, and then, you know, you didn't want to be intrusive into everybody else's time on like when they were trying to team rope and I'm out there trying to train a colt. You know, it just didn't work as well. And so I ended up keeping like, I don't know, a couple of horses down there that I could just breakaway on. And so, yeah, ended up doing that. And my first year when I went to Vernon, I mean, I got killed. It was embarrassing. I won more in the goat tying than I did in the breakaway, which is, it's not like I was a goat tire. I wasn't a great goat tire. I ended up winning more in the goat tying than I did in the breakaway, which was, crazy. But I did fall into like a group of friends, Tessie McMullen, and just a good group of friends that worked hard and kind of were goal driven. And
what was the push to go to Vernon?
I thought, man, I didn't get a full ride there, which I know a lot of people thought I was crazy to walk away from a full ride close to home to go to somewhere that I didn't get a full ride. But I just thought, man, if iron sharpens iron, I want to be the best. And if I want to be the best, I need to be around the best. And I need to be where this opportunity is. And so I thought, why wouldn't I go? If I'm going to accomplish something, I want to accomplish it against the best in the world. I don't want to accomplish it because I took what I saw as like the easier way out. And so I wanted to go to the toughest region and win in the toughest region. And I thought the Southwest region was the toughest region at the time. And so Vernon was in the Southwest region, so I went there and I got my butt kicked. Like I said, I got my butt kicked my freshman year. It was terrible. Like I had not seen places that the start was more than just right behind them. I'd learned to be kind of a gunslinger, but I hadn't learned anything as far as like just the next level of things. And so I did. I got my butt kicked my first year. And I went back home, waitressed that summer, roped some more, kind of figured some stuff out, came back down my sophomore year. I won the Southwest region and I won the college finals.
What did you think? What was the turnaround? What did you learn in that time frame? Because to get your butt kicked and then come back and win it, that's a pretty big jump. And then to win the college finals.
I had had quite a bit of success, like right there, junior and senior year in high school. And I think that push of, I've never liked losing. And so that push of getting my butt kicked and then realizing, okay, here's a few more things that you can pick up on and learn from watching these girls that are successful in these different setups and these different things. And so, and I think too, like the consistency of just going as much as I did then, like you come down here and you went somewhere all the time. I don't know. I really don't know what the difference was other than the fire that I just got my butt kicked and that was embarrassing. And you just figure it out. You just figure out how to win. You figure out how to score different. And mostly I think it probably was the scoring and feeling different timing than I had felt very much up there. So
that's a lot of the things I remembered when I was a rookie. And then, Wyatt Bray, he's been coming over and roping quite a bit and helping him with some of the stuff. He'll send me videos and we'll talk game plan. It's so hard to go to some of these places you've never been to. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what the boxes look like. You don't know what the starts are. You don't know what the tendencies are for what kind of cattle you rope.
Yep.
Ellensburg, I remember every year that rodeo, the team roping would always fall apart in the short round. Well, then you see what the steers are. They've been roped since spring. And so you know after a while, these rodeos have certain tendencies that, man, this one's going to be tough. And man, if I can get by them on these and and then timing also too of, this rodeo might have a longer box. So this means it's going to push you further down the pin.
Yeah.
And this one's a shorter box. No matter how long the start is, they're going to be right there like Kennewick.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing. I think what you learn also after, all right, you got a game plan. This is how so you almost kind of get ready for it. You got 365 days almost to get ready for that rodeo again.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that would be a lot of it. I mean, you go from Snyder, which is a gunslinging match, which was right up my alley. I loved it, but then you go to Big Springs and you go run one down and 3 flat might win money, 3-2, the 3s might win money. Well, to me, I didn't know what it was like to freaking go past, 2 something. So knowing that, gaining that experience was probably the biggest thing. You are probably hit it exactly.
And then Vernon, you said, is a 2-year school.
Mm-hmm.
So then you graduated from there.
Graduated from Vernon, went to Stephenville. That was the rodeo place to go. And at that time, that's what I was just all about. I mean, I'd just gone full tilt by college, I was full tilt on, that was total focus where everything was going was towards rodeo. And so, went to Stephenville and ended up doing good down here. I think my junior year, I don't think I did any, we won. What do we do? I don't remember what we did. I won the Southwest region 3 years in a row. After I got my butt kicked freshman year, won the Southwest region the next 3 years. I don't think I did any good at the college finals my junior year. Came back and won second at the college finals for Stephenville, and we won another women's team title, which was kind of a fun experience because we won the women's team. We were the first. Vernon was kind of one of those stellar years that when you're in it, you don't realize how cool it was. But I look back and I had just gotten thrown into this group that was so awesome. Like we were the only junior college to ever win. That year, my sophomore year, I won the nation, and we won the women's team and the men's team as a junior college. And we were the only junior college to ever do that. Junior college, we won the nation and the women's team and the men's team. And that was like kind of one of those history book things. Like, and at the time you don't even realize that it was as big a deal as it was. And it really was. And so we came back and then we won another women's title with Stephenville, which was kind of cool because me and my best friend, Tessie, we had won the women's finals together. We were on that team, and then we were on the team
one in
at
Vernon and
Stephenville.
one at Tarleton.
Mm-hmm. Yep, which was pretty neat. So, yeah, and in that time, as like I said, my second year down here, I had ended up staying. After my sophomore year at Vernon, I stayed in Texas. I came to live in Texas, and I was just making ends meet. I was rodeoing, and I did good as far as money goes, like at the college rodeos and whatnot. And then I was amateur rodeoing and things, and ended up staying down here. And so, yeah, just ended up meeting new people. And I remember being at a rodeo in Comanche, Texas, and I'd gotten to see like a bunch of the legends that I didn't even know about when I was in Oklahoma. I didn't know about JJ Hampton. I didn't know about Larry D. Guy. I didn't know about J. Mark. I didn't know those names at all until I started rodeoing down here. And then it was like
going
these
to some
people,
of the amateur rodeos.
going to some of these amateur rodeos, and the girls that I'd be hauling with, they're like, "You don't know who this is. You got to hurry up. They're fixing a rope," And so you'd go rope or go watch them rope and whatnot. And so I remember being at Comanche, Texas, and seeing Larry D was there, and her dad was down there by the boxes, and I had talked to him, and I'd talked to him a little bit over the summer, and I remember like kind of my old MO is I didn't even know any better, but I would launch it. I would tie my breakaway flag off at the sticker of my rope, and I held 2 coils. And I didn't know any better. I just freaking come across there, and I threw it to the end of it. My horse would barely stop, and here we'd go. And it was crazy. Like I'd won the longo of the college rodeos, like 4 rodeos in a row, like just not even knowing any different, And I ruined a good horse that I had finally gotten. She was okay. She was crazy, but that was another story that actually it was in high school. The one that I had turned in, my first breakaway horse that I had turned into a rope horse. She ended up getting hurt and kind of finished her career. And my mom, we're scrounging because it's not like we have a lot of money, whatever. Well, this horse comes about. My mom hears of it, and she hears that like somebody else really wasn't wanting to tell us about it because they were going to, whatever. She's like, "Listen, if we're going to try this horse, we're going to drive over there and we're going to get there tonight," whatever, however it was. But it was like, now, let's go. This horse cost $6,000. We had $3,000, and my granddad helped me with the other half, helped my mom with the other half. And we get this mare bought, and it was cost $6,000, which was just crazy, but we did it. And she was good, but she was nuts. Like she was nuts and ill broke, but she would get across the line good. And I'm so proud. And I'm like showed up to this high school rodeo and like, just like, oh, I got this new horse and yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to take her and I'm going to go put her in the box because that's what people do. Right. And so I put her in the box and I walk out and everybody's just warming up in the arena. And I walk out of the box and I go to stop her and she's like prancing. And I'll never forget, she just looks up at the grandstands and like her head, like she just looks up and falls over on her side. And I get off and she gets up and she runs off. And my mom's like, go get on her and go lope her out in that field for however long until and it just like, she was just crazy. She was crazy, but she was good. And I ended up, just so embarrassing. It's just like, oh my gosh, like what in the heck?
It's like a fainting goat.
Oh, literally. That's what she did. I walked out of the box with her and she's just so crazy. And I try to stop her and just stand there for a second, like be like, relax and like show all this good horsemanship and stuff and everything. And she just freaking falls over and throws me off and then takes off running. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, that was so embarrassing. And so, yeah, she was nuts. I have scars on my legs because I'm trying to lope her and she runs off and runs through a barbed wire fence with me. And this was in college. And this is the mare that I won the nation on. Okay, like ended up figuring out how to score. And she would run across that line and she just let me have a throw and did awesome. But yeah. So anyways, as I was down here, amateur rodeo and fast forward, I meet a lot of people. I'm at Comanche. I asked, and I've never been scared to work, but I needed opportunity because, again, we had an arena. I was actually living and renting a place over the summer with Tibba Smith, and I would give some lessons and I would some roping lessons and things like that, but just try to make some money. And but I still didn't have any calves, and I needed calves and stuff to rope. And so I had asked Larry D's dad, I was like, Mr. Guy, would you be willing to let me come work or something in order to come rope for a few days and stuff? And he just like, if you know Larry, he just grabs a hold and he's like this loud thing and he's grabbing, well, of course, babe, blah, 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 whatever. So I ended up talking to Larry D and I go over there and I rope for about 3 days. And then the whole reason I was getting to this point of the story, this is how my stories go. I go all over the place. So my second, after I'd won the nation in my sophomore year, I come back and it's 4th of July rodeos and I'm just on this high, but I don't know anything but to be a gunslinger at this point. And I go over the 4th of July and I missed 10 Kevs in a row, 10 in a row. Well, it was Wellington, Texas. I rope one. I think I completely miss him. I mean, like rope his freaking front feet or something. And it was terrible. Well, they give me a time. They announce a time. Well, I'm just being funny. I'm having the time of my life at this point. I'm being funny. I'm like, what? What are you talking? Because they finally say no time, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Just joking with the girls and everybody. Well, Larry D had heard it, and she died laughing. And she just thought that was the funniest thing in the world, that like I would throw a fit. And she just could not believe, you see her roping style, and she could not understand. Like, she would just tell everyone, she's like, I don't understand. How are you not suicidal right now? You've missed 10 Kevs in a row.
Yeah, you have
How
some
are you
serious
not
suicidal?
Suicidal?
Yeah, living
and I'm
and
just
dying by the
like,
sword.
I was like, I'll catch the next one. I'll catch one eventually, and I'll win first. Like it didn't bother me. Like I knew it. This is fine. And so it was just like a total contrast of like thinking. And so anyways, I end up going and working, and I take my colts over there and I help them and I help her with her colts and things. And she's kind of slowed down at this point and isn't really doing as much, but she's got some colts around there. And so I work for them. And then when I go to leave there, she's like, hey, when do you think you can come back and help with these horses and whatnot? So anyways, I ended up working there at the Guy Ranch for like 7 years, something like that. And that's where I really got to, at that time, as that started going and she had help with those colts, she started buying some of those cow horses and things. And that was the first time that I really got to get into like some of the broker horses, that had been through the cow horse training and some more of the horsemanship on that stuff. And so then kind of mixed that with the gunslinger attitude and tried to find the in-between, I guess.
So who was, it almost didn't sound like you really even looked up to anyone growing up, because you didn't even know who a lot of the girls were. So who kind of was your heroes growing up? Because we had that, we had ESPN, so I could watch Jake Barnes, when I was a little kid, at the NFR, and then obviously then when Speedy showed up, there's so many things that like we had seen, but Breakaway didn't have that. Mm-mm. It was almost kind of in the shadow. So it was almost hard to look up to a lot of the girls because you didn't even know who they were.
Yeah. And I didn't even know anything about it. Like we didn't, like you said, it's not like I saw them on TV or did any of that. Like my biggest influence was my mom, and my mom would refer to my dad's roping a lot. And so that's kind of what I learned off of. And then of course the guys around there that were roping calves that helped me. And so I had a lot of those different influences. And so the only women influences that I had were when I started high school rodeoing, like when I first started going, and I would see those girls that were winning, and it was like Jackie Jo or her name's Adams. Now it was Jackie Jo Chaney. Jackie Jo Chaney was amazing, rode awesome horses, and like I was like, oh my gosh, she rode so good. Like the Jamie Stanifers, those were the girls that I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable, And I remember my mom taking me to one all-girl rodeo that happened to be in Oklahoma. And I went to go pay my fees, I remember, and that is the first time that I saw like your JJ Hampton, your Jamie Markham, and I was terrified. I mean, it was terrifying as a young kid that was just learning to rope, and then you see, you got the personalities of those gals, and it's like, oh my gosh, and so that was kind of my first experience of seeing some of those gals. But other than that, it was just the girls that I had seen that were above me in high school that were really successful.
Because you were one of the few girls that learned how to make a living with the rope.
Yeah.
And so what, because like say back then it was amateur rodeo and it wasn't where it's at now. So what were the things that you kind of stayed patient through this whole process to where it's at now. So through that process of, when you got out of college up until then, you've made a heck of a name for yourself as far as a horsewoman. And what were the other things too at that point to where you were able to make a living basically with the rope?
Well, like all through college, I mean, you figure it out. You do a bunch of different little things to try to supplement it. I always wanted to do something that was headed toward the goal. And so whether it be lessons, outside horses, I tried to dabble in every event. I would rope some calves. I would breakaway. I would try to head some. I remember, just trying to get by in any way you can and trying to do all of it. Go to every roping that had breakaway, go to some of the U.S. tie-down ropings, go to, as much as I could. I didn't get to go to a whole lot of team roping until really after college, just because of the opportunity for me. But just trying to make it work. But I do remember when I graduated, and I graduated with a business degree, and I was like, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, because I knew where I was focused and what I had put all my time and energy into was roping. And that was like my passion. And I knew that I had a knack for it. And so I remember thinking, okay, I just need to, I need to quit this. I need to quit this stuff and like go start a career somewhere. And I was torn between starting a career and getting a job of like a normal job, or keep doing what I'm doing and just keep seeing, just see where it leads, whatever. And so I'd gone and talked to a really successful friend of mine, and I'm like, put yourself back in my shoes. And he had built business for himself, and just a very smart person. And I said, put yourself in my shoes. What would you do? Like, what would you do if you were me? And he was like, if I were you, keep roping. He's like, keep roping. He's like, you're going to keep doing what you're doing, and doors are going to open and opportunities going to open for you. Because whether it be that the roping door opens, I don't know that he could have foreseen that, but he was like, you do what you do, and this gift that you have and this thing that you've worked towards so hard, somebody's going to see that, and an opportunity is going to present itself. Don't throw all that away to just go start this. And so, right or wrong, that's what I did. And I was like, okay, it might have just been that I did it because that's the answer that I wanted, So I just kept roping and trying to figure it out. And as it was happening, like it was growing, like even like the breakaway stuff was growing, but there was just trying to find little doors that were open to make money and opportunity and stuff throughout the roping world. But so the U.S. roping, say like 2002, I guess, the U.S. calf roping was the biggest, kind of one of the biggest associations going, and they had their finals. And people came from all over to go to their finals right here in Stephenville. And I remember I was the first girl to ever win the semifinals and the finals. They had a big semifinals, and then the second day was the finals. I won the semifinals and the finals. I won total $6,000, a bumper pull trailer, a saddle, and I just thought, I have hit the big time. Like, this is the most unheard of thing for a girl to win $6,000 and all this stuff and everything.
What year was this?
2002. And so it just seems like as the years would progress, like things, whether it be, all right, training a horse, and selling it or whatever, everything just kind of kept rolling. And it's like every year a new roping started getting added. A new, somebody would pick up and add a roping, or money would get upped somewhere or something like that. And so it just kind of kept enough that I could stay afloat and supplement enough things until, bigger doors started opening. And so that's just kind of where it led. One thing after another, just snowballed.
So when did the world title start happening?
So let's see, 2006 would have been when they had like the WPRA women's rodeo side, roping side, has been going on for years. Okay. Like you got like your JJ Hampton, 17-time world champ. You've got, 18-time world champ now. You've got all these women that won world championships. Well, because I tied down and team roped and all this, and I'm like, why would I not go to these things? And at the time I was working and training horses with Larry D, and I'm like, I want to go there. She's like, I don't, she was like, for whatever reason, did not want to. But we ended up, 2006, you could enter the world finals, and ended up going, they were having them in Alvarado. So 2006 is when it started, and going to the first year of the WPRA finals and things like that. And so ended up winning the world in the calf roping. And I may have started going in 2005 or whatever, but I ended up, my first world title, I do believe, in the tie down roping was, and maybe the all around, was 2006. And so 2006 was the year that all that started with the WPRA and the world titles. And so.
And then that worked up to now at 23.
Yeah, 20.
Correct.
Is it? And I don't know how you separate. I don't know how you separate everything. but it'd be 22 within the WPRA than the first one of the PRCA.
Mm-hmm. Well, the PRCA,
But that's
WPRA
been
kind of
going.
mixed. Because
It is. I don't know how you separate the two,
I mean,
though, because
still-
like the
still kinda
first
goes along
one,
it.
yeah. So, but a total of
23.
23. Yep. And it's weird how they do it because you know, like the WPRA world titles they've been having world titles for, you know, ever. I mean, you go back to the Wanda Harper Bush days, way back, and they've been having world titles for, I think, since 1948 in several events. But then you've got the WCRA women's events, and they're they're labeled the WCRA world title. So yeah, there's lots of different titles to be.
Yeah. It's what I thought was cool though was when the doors finally opened. Probably because you got married to one of probably the biggest studs out there, because your career really did blossom after that. Because that's I remember one time when I asked you, because I think you were making a breakaway DVD, and I'm like, well, how many times did you win the world in the breakaway? And you're like, I don't know. Well, then how many of them? Because you had all these world titles, at that point in time. And I'm like, well, how many did you win the breakaway? And I think you looked it up. You're like, I never have. I'm like, well, if you're going to sell a DVD, maybe like, let's try to get a world championship breakaway title under your belt right here. That'll probably look good on that breakaway DVD.
Yeah.
And then it was just like that. That was the last conversation, and boom. And then like you just go do it. Like next year, win the world in the breakaway. I always thought that was cool because like I never really thought about it. Let's go do that. And then just bam. Well, I thought what was cool though was the first time that they did finally have a breakaway. Basically, it's not in the NFR, but at least it was in the same location that year in 2020. Mm-hmm. Through the PRCA, the WPRA, which is an awkward balance, but it is kind of something that finally at least you guys finally got a chance, right?
Yeah, so
and
crazy.
It's kind of the first NFR really for the breakaway. And what were you, 6 months pregnant? Mm-hmm. Which I think everyone probably knows the story. It was just iconic as when you were pregnant with Creed and for your first NFR, it's that, man, I don't want to miss out, but I'm also don't want to do anything to jeopardize anything that, with being a mom, having a child, things like that. And so I remember we went to the first doctor, and this guy was way too safe. Even I could tell he was way too safe. I mean, he was almost like, don't even go to the grocery store, And so then I was like, this just doesn't feel right. So we went somewhere else, and then end up getting a doctor that at least understood roping. Like you could tell the guy didn't understand really a lot of what we were doing. So then we end up going to another doctor, and I think his daughter breakaway or maybe barrel
she ran
raced.
barrels, yeah.
And so he understood it, and you're like, look, this is my biggest concern. I have something that's, an NFR coming up, but it's not worth it. But what do you think? And he's like, honestly, the only thing I see would be, maybe saddle horn or something like that. If something was to happen and the horse was to fall or something like that. And I remember just like that. Well, what if I cut it off? And he's like, honestly, yeah. Then I don't see nothing. And literally just like that, just kind of like anything, kind of like the breakaway. Well, have you thought about winning a world title? Oh yeah, let's just go do it. And then literally that was probably one of the coolest performances. I wished it would have been during the perf, because that 10 rounds that you did 6 months pregnant was probably one of the coolest things ever, because you won the first round. And that was like, talk about a feeling of being the first girl to ever win a round at the NFR. That one was really cool on T-Boy. And then what round was it when the calf stepped in your loop? Because you were winning the average, if I remembered right.
Yep, I was winning the average. Calf steps on back loop. I think it's obvious.
What round was it?
It was the last round of the first, I think maybe the fifth round, because the next day it was like,
that's what it was.
I don't know. It was later on, because the next day it was like, all right, well, the only chance you have is to come back firing. Like, that's it. Like, that's the only
Well,
chance
what round did that happen, though? Was it still on the first day? It seemed like it was the fourth or fifth round. It seemed like maybe right in there. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Well, then the judge didn't see it.
They don't see it. But, like, I don't know. Everybody thinks different about competition. I don't want anything I didn't earn. You know what I mean? And at that point, I'm like, why? Like, I would have just rather you flag me out. Like, it just flagged me out. Like, I didn't freaking get it.
That was a tough time, because like there was so much stuff. Breakaway girls were new. They were new in the sport. There was a lot of animosity in certain things, and then there wasn't in others. And like none of y'all knew the rules. And I remember when you came back and you're like, he didn't get it. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, he didn't get it. Like, they have me.
Why
having
didn't
a
they
time.
flag me
Why didn't they
out?
flag me out? And you were so scared to do the right thing, and not in the fact of not do the right thing, but you were so scared, like, I don't want to go out there and get mad at me or get fined. Yeah,
so much about, like, if you interrupt the rodeo, don't you dare interrupt the rodeo. But at the same time, like, okay, but y'all aren't changing it. Nobody's like, you're kind of waiting, like, like for them to say something or somebody else and then them to fix it and get it right. And I make it all the way back around and nobody's done it yet. And I'm like, I don't want that time. I'm not taking that time. But at the same time, I don't want to disqualify or like, what do I do? And it's like, I guess I got to go out there. I have to go out into the rodeo. So like, you're like, well, just go.
I remember
just
you
go.
asked me because I was like, I
like,
get
go.
what you're saying. Like you were saying, but I'm telling you, if you're going out to flag yourself out, I promise you, I'll pay the fine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no one's going to,
go.
no one's going to, because I know the guy. That was a good thing. At least I knew the judges. So it's not like I didn't know their personalities. And literally you did, but you did it in a good way where that rodeo wasn't held up. But to flag yourself out, winning the average at a chance to win your first world title in that basically where it's just a standalone NFR at the breakaway. And then from then on, one round after another, and then come back and end up doing it. And it was cool because it was between you and Martha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when you guys roped, it was literally like, hold your breath.
Yeah, we had no idea.
No one had an idea. And then, because you guys battled it out, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool to have that, especially as good as you and Martha are friends, and then to have that rivalry, but then just the way it all lined up, ended up winning the first world title.
It was crazy.
In the breakaway.
It was crazy. It was so,
a lot of emotion between, Creed, in your belly, or no, it's Journey. Excuse me. It's Journey. Yeah. It's Journey. And, that was so cool. Like, Journey was a world champion before she even hit the ground.
Yeah.
And then, just the way, like I said, the way it was a storybook ending on how that all worked out, flagging yourself out and to be able to rope your way back in. And it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You know me well enough day in, day out. I mean, that's just, I thank you for giving me the confidence to like just go. And if they get mad at me, they get mad at me, but just go, and do that. But like, I don't know. I'd rather wear the weights and beat you than freaking beat you like that. Like that's, I don't know. When it comes to competition, I don't know. I'd rather it be like that and come back at it, because to me, you can't have pride in something if you didn't earn it. And right there, I didn't earn that calf. I did not earn that calf. It wasn't a clean catch. And so I don't want to walk away with something that I didn't earn. And so it was how much sweeter was it to earn it the way that I had to come back and battle back for it, Yeah, that's just way sweeter.
Yeah, it was cool. That's because it's a cool story. So how many times been rodeoing out in there? What now at this level? 7, 8 years now?
Yeah, 7 years. I started going the first year, or whenever they announced that they were going to have breakaway at Ellensburg and Moses Lake, and you were up there rodeoing, and I just had Creed. It was 2017, and it was like, man, if they're going to put rodeo in some of these rodeos, or breakaway in some of these rodeos, I got to get there. I got to get there and be a part of it. And so, yeah, we went, that was 2017, and went up there, and I ended up supplementing it. I went to make the trip worth it. I was the only one that went. Oh, I don't even know how I got there by myself, but I did. Or did you? I don't know how we got, but I got up there with T-Boy and Creed, and we went to Ellensburg, got turned out at Ellensburg, drove all the way up there to get turned out.
I remember I was going to
drop
you off.
Forgive you.
I went to drop you off early.
Forgive you for that.
I went to drop you off early, and you're like, yeah, I can't get there that early. I'm like, well, I can go up here, we can go eat, and then ended up getting up there. Well, then as we get up there, the West Star roping.
No, I think I should tell the story.
No, I want to tell it first. And so then as we go to leave, everyone's coming in and literally couldn't, because it's a one-way road up there.
Yeah. So I drive from Texas to Washington to rope at Ellensburg because it's this iconic rodeo. And it's like, I'm always that person that if you open a door, like I'm going to be banging it down.
Unless you open that door early.
Yeah, unless it's early, then I won't be there. But I wanted to be entered in everything that they would let us enter in. And so I drive from Texas to Oklahoma or to Washington with this little baby. And I'm going to be there. And I get to Ellensburg, and I don't know anything about like how long it takes for steer trippers or how any of this situation up here in Ellensburg. And so, Charlie was going to drop me off there, and there was, 100 and something trippers. And he's like, well, we can just go get something to eat, and you could drop me off at the team roping. And I'm like, oh, okay. It takes that long. Okay. I don't know anything around Ellensburg. Like I don't know the routes, whatever. So we go eat. and go to drop him off at the West Star. I didn't know that the West Star was this huge freaking packed out roping that is one way in, one way out. So I get up there, drop him off, and now I can't get back down because the entire road is blocked. So now I'm stuck at this stinking team roping. They're calling saying the breakaway is fixing to start, and I can't get there. So I have drove from Texas to Washington to get turned out of Ellensburg to have to go back to the short round of Ellensburg because he makes a short round and sit there and watch the short round of a roping that I didn't compete in, and then have Trevor Brazil mouth off to me being a jerk and says, well, I mean, it's a good thing you didn't make the short round. Shoot, I think you had to be like 6 to win it. And I was like, I want to kill you. I want to kill you right now. I was fuming mad, but I went to Moses Lake, and yeah, I went up there every year. And I remember when they added, I don't remember what year it was, maybe 2018, 2019. They added, what's the one on the way cool rodeo in California, San Juan,
Castroma?
Yeah. San Juan added breakaway, and that was a huge thing. And then Rapid City, these are all like kind of the first bigger openings of it. And I mean, we did dumb stuff. We sent a rig and a driver to California, and we got flights, and we sent a rig and a driver to Rapid City. And I mean, we are just like big dog rodeoing it with no carrot at the end of the stick whatsoever. Like we're just out here spending money to have our names called at these rodeos, you know? And so it's like, it was a good time though, because I'll never forget like those memories that we had doing that. Cause it was actually, then it was slower paced because we were just going to a few of them. Yeah, it was dumb to go, but it's like we were going to go. There's a group of us that was going to go regardless. And so we had good times.
Well, I think it's important too, is as you look back at it, because those are, in my opinion, some of the trails that needed blazed in order to get it into where it's at now. And, you know, UNLD and a handful of JJ and, you know, even Jamie Markham, you know, as it from then up to where it's at now and where it's going now, it's important. I think you needed to be on those trails, you know, and needed to, because you did a good job with being able to talk to committees. You did a good job with being able to talk to a lot of the people that helped push it into more rodeos to give you guys more opportunity to where now it's not exactly where we want it quite right now, but it's at least gotten to where there's a somewhat of an NFR, and you know, it's better than where it was just 10 short years ago.
That's dang good. I mean, it's a heck of a time to be a cowgirl right now in any event because of the opportunities.
What is the word on NFR at the Thomas and Mack? Anything still on that?
No.
Nothing. Not nothing. Even though they've dropped a contract saying that the NFR is going to be in Las Vegas till what, 2035? Is that what I've seen?
I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah,
and I think they signed a 10-year contract. And it's, when they announced it, it was a 12-year. Basically, they announced it 2 years early. So no word on breakaway. Nothing you know of.
Not that I'm aware of. No, I haven't heard anything, you know. I haven't heard anything new. Nothing.
So as you're getting ready for this year's NFR, what does the trail look like now for you going forward?
Well, I mean, somewhat to do with that last topic that we just talked about, but I think that for me, I mean, there's so much opportunity for us, and for right now, I've gotten to check off every bucket list rodeo. I finally got to compete in Ellensburg when I made it on time. So I've got to go there a couple of years.
I'm glad you learned early on to get there.
And
you're welcome.
Yeah. So I've gotten to check off one of the last rodeos that I truly wanted to go to. Now there's more that I want to go to, but one of the ones that like, I was like, man, I really want to do that. Like I just want to feel what the tree looks like. You know, I wanted to rope in St. Paul, and St. Paul added breakaway. We've been talking for 3 years now, and they added it this year. They got it added. And so a lot thanks to do to Karen McPhillip and a lot of people, but we got it added. I got to check that box off. I got to rope with the trees. I felt the tree, and you know what? Check it off. So for me, I know that it's new to a lot of people, and it's only been for a few years, but like I said, I've been doing this for 7 years and doing this on a different scale for a lot longer than that. And so unless there's going to be not even unless, I feel like I've done what I wanted to do. I feel like I've fulfilled what I wanted to fulfill what else am I going to do? It's the experiences that I wanted. It was the atmospheres that I wanted to experience at these rodeos. It's no different. I mean, you were with me when I was like, man, I just want to enter Salinas to know what it feels like, right? That was before I ever even thought. That's back when I entered Salinas.
2015, and back then there was zero. So 10 years ago, yeah, almost 10 years ago, and that was literally no glimpse of thinking that you were probably going to ever breakaway there.
Well,
and
that
so
was when
I remember you entered the team roping at Salinas and Cheyenne, because that might be.
Well, yeah, that didn't even. I mean, there was talks of it. That's when me and Danielle had started that roping in California, California's richest, and our goal was to try to make that roping big enough right down the road in Salinas during the rodeo that maybe they would run the top 5. And we talked to the committee and we tried to get it done. And it's like, well, we don't have time. We don't have this. We don't have this. And we're like, we don't even need a shoot. We don't need a shoot. Like, we don't have to have a shoot. We'll run it. We'll just run them down an alley down the track side, And so we tried to get even say the short round of California's richest run in Salinas, rodeo. And, we were unsuccessful in doing that, but that was our hopes in starting. And the same thing, drove for how many years from Texas to California to try to get that roping going and to try to get that built up big enough that somebody would take notice and say, hey, well, maybe we need to include this in Salinas. So at that time, that's when we were trying to do that. And I was like, well, you know what? I want to enter. I've seen women like Tammy West enter the team roping. I want to experience that. Like, I just want the experience of what that rodeo feels like. And so, yeah, entered Salinas in the team roping, entered Cheyenne in the team roping, because those were like the 2 iconic rodeos. I was like, all right, well, it's a lot of horsepower, a lot of drawing contests that maybe you stand a chance, So, yeah, I entered with Marty Yates, and another one that I wanted to enter was Guyman. I'd always heard about the freshies at Guyman, and so I entered Guyman with Chase Williams. So I got to enter a few of those rodeos, and this was before it was, like you said, that it was actually a possibility that breakaway would be in. And so as it started to get in, now I have gotten to experience those experiences. And so now the kids are, Creed's 7, Journey's 3. We have a lot of opportunity outside of those things, outside of pro rodeos. And so for me at this time, I truly feel like I think that my time would be best spent going at home, staying at home, doing more things that are centered around here, doing things like the WCRA, the women's finals, the American. I'd like to get into some of the futurity stuff, because I've always put that on the back burner because I've been so involved with like the pro rodeos. But it's not that I don't want to go. I want to go to those. I still want to rope at those rodeos. But for me, our NFR, even though I've talked about this a million times, of course we're grateful. Of course I'm grateful for our NFR. It's amazing. I love the South Point. I love going out there. I love roping at our NFR. But at the same time, to get to our NFR, that for us isn't as big of a thing as the guys. Of course, it makes sense for the guys to go spend the amount of money and the time away from home to try to get that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, because you can really, you rope at almost a $30,000 round and a $60,000, $70,000 average, or $80,000, whatever it's up to now. Yeah, that makes sense. For me, it just doesn't make sense at this time to go spend all that money and that time away from home and time away from the family and separating the kids and things like that, to go to that when I can go to all of the big things and still be more time at home. So I think next year that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm still going to go to all the big rodeos. I'm still going to be at all the big places that are highly promoted and making a splash, but I'd like to have a couple of futurity colts, and then I want to let Creed play soccer, and I want to let, all the things that like we haven't been able to do, let him figure out what he likes, and, hopefully take Journey to the little play days up here and, and do all that stuff. And so, and just be present. I'm ready to be present. Like you've said, it'll be nice to be present and take a breath for a second and not just come in, throw stuff out of the rig and just to throw it back in and go to another little rodeo. I mean, they called me the other day, we were laughing. They called me the other day and they're like, hey, books on Hempstead and Rosenberg are open. Like, when do you want to go? And I was like, I don't think you guys really believe me. I don't want to go. Like, I'm not that nothing against those rodeos. I just want to be home. I want to be home, and I want to be here, and I want to do normal people things, like I want to, I don't know, paint my entrance I want to paint some things. I want to build a rock garden. I want to have a garden. Like just dumb, like I just want to do normal things. And so
I think what a lot of people don't realize too, for most cowboys, especially like I remember what it was like for me, and I've seen the same thing as what you're craving as well, is like home is almost vacation.
Yeah. Because
you spend so much time on the road to where when you're home, they're like, hey, do you want to do that? No.
Yeah.
Like this is where I want to, like, this is almost a vacation, just being able to be home, ride your colts, get to rope, actually do all the things that you just don't do as you're on the road all the time.
Yeah. And so I'm just at that point where I feel like if my heart isn't completely and totally into it, then why am I doing that? And it's not that my heart isn't into roping. I'm saying if I'm not going to enjoy every second of what I'm doing, then why be doing that? And so I think I'm at a good point where I can say, I've accomplished everything I want to accomplish. What else? I'm at a point where I can say, as far as pro rodeo goes, unless I'm going to get to run one in the Thomas and Mack, with everyone else right beside me and get to, watch the guys and feel that electricity. It's like I said before. I mean, a lot of girls we differ a little bit in the sense that some of the girls say, well, I don't care as long as they add the money, as long as they up the money, I don't care where it's at. And I'm different because I know that the money comes and goes. It comes and goes. Yes, the money is nice. Yes, it makes sense for us to continue rodeoing. But at the end of the day, if you add whatever it is, it's still not going to fulfill that one little tiny thing. I mean, the end game is the ultimate end game. And so, of course, you're always going to dream about that. You're always going to dream about running one of the Thomas Mack. I've got to experience that. I got to go help Trevor down below. And I know some of the barrel racers have experienced it, but I got to go experience that with him and help with the calf horses and team roping horses the year that he won the Triple Crown. And I can honestly say that is the coolest atmosphere I've ever experienced in my entire life. You don't see a whole lot of 30-30s. Like you don't watch a whole lot of sports interviews of people that have, played sports and been at the highest level and ask them, what do you miss about it? I haven't seen a whole lot that's like, oh, I miss the money. I don't see that. They miss the experience, the atmosphere, the feelings, the energy, all those things. Like they miss that. And so to me, that's what it's about. It's not. And so my last thing would be is if I got to run one, whether it be at the Thomas and Mack or wherever the NFR is hosted, but inside that NFR with all the guys and the barrel racers, I think that would be the last thing. But I don't know if that's in my cards for my career or not. So.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. If no one knows right now, it doesn't look like it's anytime soon. Then
no, I don't.
I don't think never. I think eventually, but it just doesn't. Yeah. There's no glimpse of anything that looks like it's coming out that's saying that it's going to be in anywhere in the next 5 years. Doesn't sound like that's for sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think that's where I'm okay with saying, hey, I feel like I left it all.
Yeah.
There.
The cool thing about with what I think where you're at too is, I think it's cool when you're able to call it when you want.
Yeah.
To be able to say, look, I think you're going out on your own terms where you didn't get hurt. Nothing drastically happened or it got pulled from you. It's like, I get to go out on my terms. And you're getting to go out in a pretty good spot. You're going into this year's NFR number 3 in the world.
Yeah. But I think when I say that, like people are freaking out. They're like, oh, you're retired. I'm not quitting roping. I'm not retiring. I'm still going to stay just as competitive. I just don't want to leave home for 4 months.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
And I think that's different from as we were in the team roping because it was all about the NFR. Because we had an NFR.
Because that's y'all's biggest thing. Mm-hmm. Our NFR is not our biggest thing. Our biggest thing is the Kimes Ranch $1 Million Breakaway coming up at the end of November. That's our biggest thing. The American, that's our biggest thing. The women's final, that's our biggest thing. And so it's not to be ungrateful at the pro rodeos. I love the pro rodeos. I love the experience that they've given me. I love everything about it. It's just, for me, I could back off and not be gone for 4 months and still go to these huge things. So that's what I want to do.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of other things too. But you talked on one is the Kimes NFR, the Kimes Ranch NFR that's coming up.
Yeah.
So
Kimes Ranch $1 Million Breakaway.
Anyone that's talking about going for the money, this is where this steps in.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And what's cool about this too is like even going forward, I think for you is what they take the top 10 in the world standings of this year, but then they take 15 other girls through the jackpots.
Qualifiers, through 2 qualifiers.
So, I mean, you still got chances of that going forward as well. So this year getting ready for the NFR and the Kimes Ranch $1 Million Breakaway, what are all the things that you're working on right now? Like roping wise, swing, you've taken some opportunities to try to work on a couple little things to try to get in front of the box, get in front of your horse. What are some of the things that you're working on right now to get ready for, which is quite possibly one of the, besides the American, one of the biggest things you have, especially when you're wanting to go out with a bang.
Yeah, I'm definitely counting down the days, and I know come tomorrow, I have exactly almost 2 months, so 4 weeks to get ready, and so I'm definitely trying to work on some things that, as far as bad habits that I've gotten into, that I've been in for, a couple years, and so they're hard to break overnight, and so I've gotten just work on my first swing, my riding, my strength, my core strength. I definitely have a lot of work to do, and getting my horse string put back together and really getting timing. And I need to make a lot more runs on Trojan, the roan that I finished up the year on. I mean, now's my time that I get to be home and actually make runs and get to know him and him get to know me. And maybe I can figure out that start and, just be more comfortable when it comes the end of November. And, yeah.
What are some other horses you might be possibly getting ready for that event?
I'm not saying.
Oh, come on.
I ain't saying. I don't know.
You're gonna say it.
I don't know. It's
good.
in the back of my mind. It's in the back of my mind to possibly. I've been watching T-Boy out there running around in the pasture, and he looks pretty dang sound. And so I took him to the vet the other day, and I said, "Is there any possibility?" And he said, "It's dang sure a possibility." And he said, "Go to swimming him." And so he's been getting led, and he goes to the swimmer tomorrow, and we're just going to play it by ear. I'm not going to get my hopes up that I can have one last hoorah on him, but man, it'd be fun. It'd be cool. Man, I would have so much confidence if I could know that I had my old man back at number one for just, so I said, 20 calves. Give me 20 calves, then you never have to run a calf another day in your life.
How cool would that be to be able to end it kind of in a way how you started?
Yeah, I mean that
he's kind of what got you started in one perspective as far as making a living with the rope, competing wise. I wouldn't say he got me started, but I'd say he definitely built me. Like he built my career. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, when you ride a horse for 11 years and compete and you win everything I want on him, and he was with me at the first and the forefront of so many things, and I trusted him with so much stuff. That is, that's a different confidence.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So what are some of the things out there besides the Kimes Ranch that's getting ready for the end of November, right there around Thanksgiving, I believe? Mm-hmm. And how is that ran? Is they going to run all 10 in one day, or are they spacing them out?
It's a couple of different days, and I think you're guaranteed, and I should know this more accurately, but part of everything, they just say they're having it, and I'm like, I'm entered. I don't care how you run it, I'm entered. I think they're running like 5 one day, or 4 one day, 4 another day, and they move 5. I could be totally wrong. I don't know. Maybe 3. They break it up, though, and then you're only guaranteed like 7 or 8 calves, and then the final, you have to advance in order to run the last 3 calves, I think.
Okay.
2 or 3 calves.
So they're kind of doing the whole, because they did that at your first NFR, right? Where they run so many, but then you kind of had to be in the running on the
like
last
an
part of it.
8-man, 4-man deal.
So maybe possibly that, but not knowing for sure.
Yeah, not 100%. And then I know they're having, like, it's a big to-do. They're having, there's vendors and there's huge concerts every night. And it's going to be a blast. It's going to be so fun. But there's so many things that are happening between now and then. I mean, we have, number one, this month is the qualifier for it in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's Richest is going on. Then we've started a new deal, the South Texas Showdown, that they've started, and they're inviting the top 30 in the world, and they've got 15,000 added and 100% payback.
Where's that?
No cattle charge in Uvalde. That's at the end of the month. Then you've got the Hondo Rodeo. That's at the beginning of November. It's $1 million added. Cord McCoy's got going on out there in Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, and then the Kimes Ranch. I mean, just like it never. There's so many things going on.
It's interesting to see a lot of the rodeos standalone, like the one in Hondo. Like that one's going to be good. They had one earlier this year in San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego
and heard
again.
where there's possibly going to be some more going forward.
Yeah.
So that's going to be pretty
really
cool
neat
to see where some, and then also some word too on some of one of your bigger rodeos of the winter possibly going open.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of where that stuff goes. So yeah, I'm excited to see where rodeo is going forward on a lot of that stuff as well.
Yeah.
What else? So you're getting ready also for the NFR as well, because that follows right after the Kimes Ranch.
Yep, absolutely. So that's going to be big. Like we will go straight from the Kimes Ranch $1 Million Breakaway to the NFR. So yeah, there's a lot of titles and money up for grabs into November, 1st of December. And then the 1st of December after that, after the NFR, there's all the ropings in Vegas, but a special one for me because got it started was the Rope for the Crown. And so that happens at the Plaza at the end of the week after the NFR. Yeah.
So you're going to stick around for some of those jackpots. And then what else are you going to be doing out there? You got some broadcasting going on again?
Yeah. I think.
Cleaned up and get on TV?
It's not 100%, but yeah, I think I get to go, talk BS for a week after that. So yeah, that'll be fun again. It's a good, I really enjoy working for Teton. They are fun to work for, good people. It's definitely been another avenue that I hope I get to stay a part of.
Yeah, you will. You will, because you're good at it. You got a good TV presence and you speak really well. You understand the game. And in my opinion, too, so many events also. I know you're a lot of the eyes that I leaned on when I was competing because you knew a lot of the run. Like you have a lot of high IQ in the roping events on angles and when to get your swing up and the rope and the handle and all that different stuff. And so, yeah, it's a good blend for a lot of your strengths of all the events that you've done. And so, yeah, that's going to be pretty cool to get into that, I think, for you. I think you're good at it. You'll enjoy that as well.
Yeah, I have fun. It's fun, too, with the group of people that I've gotten to work with. I mean, besides like Luke and Katie, which I think Katie just shakes her head at us most of the time. Poor thing. But she's
probably used to structure, and then she gets to see how cowboys and cowgirls are.
Yeah, no, she's completely structured and has everything to a T, and she's so professional. And then me and Luke show up, and like we've done.
Well, here's the thing about
him
cowboys.
And JB, you add JB
then you
into
got
that.
JB in there, exactly.
Yeah,
well,
so
the thing
funny.
about most cowboys, and I'm sure you shithead cowgirls too, is the fact that, like for us, we were terrible at school. I was terrible at school, so I was the shithead. It was natural for me to be the little Johnny in class because I didn't want to be there. I had nothing to do with this. This is not where I'm going, and so I did not like discipline. And
hindsight, don't you wish you?
Yeah, shut up. So, anyways, but yeah, and so then cowboys are just kind of a whole group of people kind of with that same mentality. And then you end up getting a structured deal right here where you kind of got to know stuff. Well, then, yeah, anytime to jack around, people I don't think really realize how natural it is for us to truly just jack around.
I think like you said, there's just two different personalities and like me and Luke are just kind of, fly by the seat of your pants, and then you got Katie's. But it actually makes it fun. Honestly, if people would mic us up after,
you guys were broadcasting something, and then he was on some social media rant at the same time.
Oh, at the exact same time. And he's like, show it, and I'm like, stop, like, come on. Yeah, it honestly is a ball. Like, we have so much fun because we do just talk about stuff that we love and analyze runs and look at that, which, I mean, I want to, after this is over, I would like to get better at it, but but right now we just talk about stuff that we like and know, and it's all just very natural. We don't have to go and we let Katie do the hard stuff, and then we just kind of BS and
do the homework.
And it's been a ball so far, and I love it, and I love the people that we work for. It'll be fun. I do want to do more of that.
So for that little girl right now that's dreaming of being a breakaway roper, to making the NFR, to doing all the things that to be the world champion, all the stuff that you guys are getting to blaze a trail for, because right now it's different than when you were that little girl, because like I said, no one really seen the breakaway ropers. Well, you guys are in the limelight. There's going to be so many young girls, in my opinion, now dreaming of that goal to win the world title in the breakaway rope. And what is the advice you would give that little girl?
You better be different. You better be different is all I can say. Like, I think that so many people look at it and think, I can do this, but it's a whole nother breed. You're going to have to be different. You're going to have to be doing different things while some kids are goofing off, and you just got to be willing to go the extra mile. You got to be willing to be different and go the extra mile and do a little bit more. and put a little bit more effort in, because the one thing I'll say about this industry, it's not like you can just show up, do your practice for a little bit, and then it turns off. Like in this industry, it never turns off. Somebody's always doing something more. There's more that you can do. There's more horses to be found. There's more schooling on horses. It's not like you're just working on yourself. You're adding an animal to this and timing and all these things. So it's not like you can just go get one horse. I'm not saying you can't start off with that. Nobody's saying that, because trust me, if anybody can come from not having much, like we've proven you can do that. But it takes effort, and it takes being willing to do what others won't. That's going to take you that extra step. And so just don't be scared to be different when it comes to working hard and putting your goals out there and doing whatever it takes to get them.
One of the things I've learned through watching the process of some of this stuff is it seems like for young kids, learning how to choose your hard.
Yeah.
Like getting up early and getting on your horses. Choosing discipline is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Learning to do the books, learning how to know when the books are entered, knowing how to make sure you get there on time, knowing how to get your horse ready, knowing how to make sure, all those things are all discipline. Like those things are hard, but then it seems like then your life is going to be easy. Well, not having discipline is almost a lot easier, but then now your life's going to be hard, because not having discipline when you're not getting entered on time, you're not paying your fees on time, you're not, then you're getting fined. You're not able to make it to the rodeo. You didn't structure your horses right in the right way. You're not keeping them rode, so then they're getting crippled. You can see where everything kind of like starts basically coming off the rails when you don't have discipline. But not to have discipline is easy, but then your life's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's so much of that to where first watching your career and, knowing your story was your work ethic. And a lot of people can work hard, but you got to know what to work on. And you did a good job, in my opinion, of knowing how to make a living as a female with the rope. One of the few that's probably ever done it, not the only, kind of starting off, and knowing what and how to work on it. So it was productive. Everything kind of intertwined with each other, between the clinics. Because I think a lot of times learning how to breakaway rope is one thing, then learning how to explain it and teach it and articulate it. And it's amazing then how much more you kind of almost learn about the breakaway. Knowing horses, which do a good job of, them, and then also knowing how to make them, then knowing how to, you've also taken horses too from other people. I know you talked about having some of Trevor's, so then also being able to maintain that. So through that, you're taking some of his rodeo horses, putting them back together. You've done it with mine. And so then you learn how the horse works. So now as it all evolved into when rodeo finally started taking off, you knew how to maintain them. You knew how to rope, you knew how to win, you knew how to do all these different things because the discipline, you had to work hard at it. And it's, it's pretty amazing at 23 world titles and, all the things you've done. The American champion, 2 of those, the first girl to win the $1 million. It's pretty cool. The first girl, I think, to win the American also.
That was Maddie. I was the first girl to win the WCRA. The
WCRA in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of first, a lot of groundbreaking things that you were able to do, and it's been cool to watch. But yeah, when you say you better be different, those are the things that I think that you weren't scared to be different in those ways, and then it's pretty cool to watch it where it paid off. So that's a good role model for a lot of kids.
So
how do we follow you? What are all the things that you have? I know you have a website. I know anyone that still has a DVD player. I think you have some DVDs as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the things to be able to follow you? What's your website? What are the things that you have to where the girls want to get better at their roping?
Well, mostly Instagram and Facebook right now is what I have.
Jackie Hobbs Crawford.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I really don't even know all the handles.
I believe that.
It's logged on my phone.
Luckily,
I just
the
push
discipline that you have, at least the things you're not disciplined in, they don't matter.
I think it's a bad word choice. You're saying discipline. I say hustle. All I know is I just keep going.
You do.
Just keep going forward. There might not be a whole lot of discipline or structure, but I keep freaking going forward. And I think that just dumb luck along the way somehow.
There's some of that for sure.
Yeah, but honestly, Instagram, Facebook, and anytime, I got some plans in the future now that my time is freed up more, that I'm hoping I can put a lot more learning things
Where are we gonna
out
find
for
that?
people. I don't know yet. Stop
Probably
asking me
probably
hard
your
questions.
website.
Do you think I have a plan? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Do you even think I
know?
know?
Do you even know your website?
No. Yeah, I think JackieCrawford.com. I don't know. I think it is. It's not like I do anything on it. I do Instagram and Facebook, okay?
You do? That's good.
I do.
I'm glad you do.
I do those. Those are all authentic. Most of those are authentic.
So what are some of the things going forward?
I've already told you all the things
No,
going forward.
like as far as like with your website and the things now going forward, because you have a great DVD. Your DVD is really, really good.
Listen, you're wanting me to make a plan, and you know I don't make plans, and I don't want to put a plan out there because I'm probably not going to follow it. And then you're going to be like, well, you said you were going to do this, and everybody's going to, you said you were going to do this. Yeah, but I just said that, and I didn't really know because Charlie's pressuring me to make a schedule and a plan, and I don't know. I don't know.
I believe that too.
Okay.
I believe that too. But
just
I
have
believe that you're
ideas.
also probably got some good ideas.
There's
and I
just
bet
a
they're
lot
gonna
of
be good.
ideas.
So
up here.
everyone stay tuned.
Just stay. I like to keep
Stay
everybody
tuned.
on their toes.
Yeah, that's for
Okay.
sure. That's
And
for sure.
you
And then there's
just
some
never
people
know.
that just like, all right, let me know when you're done.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's like I said, the DVDs for now are really good. I really do recommend them. A lot of good visuals. You explain things really well. So I think for a lot of young kids learning, that are wanting to learn how the rope works, wanting to know where position is, want to know all those little things, that DVD is really good. So
yeah,
highly recommend
if
that.
anybody knows what a DVD player is.
And if
anymore.
anyone knows how to find your website that you don't know. So anyway, so if you want this information, you have to dig for it.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
Right
like a
on.
mystery.
Well, man, I'm excited to see where everything's going at the NFR. Man, it's going to be fun. It's going to. I know that there's going to be a lot of inspiration to go out on top. So
Yeah, be fun.
excited to see it. Yeah. What a fun way to end right there as far as like trying to go that hard. So excited. All right. Well, good luck and thanks for coming on.
Thank you.